Chapter 324. Yi Jiao's face turned green. Although Hou Yitian was over 40 years old, but she looked like she was 20 years old. She was dressed solemnly and had a beautiful appearance. What left the deepest impression was her tall and slender phoenix eyes. Her red-painted nails gently lifted the teacup and slowly took a sip. Elders was stood up in satisfaction. Very good, I have something to do, I will leave first. So it was like that. Tang Tian was enlightened, he thought for a while. I remember, when the cross door was just opened, I met a gray man that looked exactly like me. My first killing technique was enlightened from it. Just at this time, a subordinate came to report with an ugly face. They raised the price again. Honorable Martial Alliance. Xiao Duo respectfully reported. Elders was said, do as she says. The majestic sacred mountain, the entire peak was leveled, and the meteor shower stage was built on top. There were 9,999 steps made of polished white jade. As one ascended the steps, the view before them suddenly widened. The sacred mountain was extremely high, and the surroundings were covered in pure white snow, but the meteor shower stage was like spring all year round, with flowers blooming. Only he is worthy to be his enemy. Those were his words. Bing's mouth twitched. Crazy people are different from ordinary people, don't learn from him. Jing Hao was not able to enter the top 10. Bing's expression was solemn. Yi Zhaogu is ranked 6th out of the 10. You can imagine how strong he is. If you miss this battle, Ling Su will die, Crane will die, Amauri will die, Han Bingning will die, Liang Qiu will die, Sima Xiangshan will die, Homa Er will die, the entire Lupus tribe will be flattened, no one will survive, everyone will die. No one can stop Yi Zhaogu. Once the Honorable Martial Alliance sends out Yi Zhaogu, it will be their attitude. Yi Zhaogu is cold and emotionless. He is the coldest sword in the Honorable Martial Alliance. What do the higher-ups mean? Yi Jiao asked carefully. To be able to reach this step is already very inspiring. I'm so lucky to be able to meet everyone. It was such a blessing to be able to fight alongside everyone. Even if I were to restart my life, I would feel that it was a great pity if I couldn't meet her again. I was reckless and stupid, but everyone was still helping me. Everyone was fighting for me. How could I give up at this time? Their affection for me is worth more than my own life. I don't know much, but I know that I may die in battle, but I will die with my head held high. Running away at this time will only make me live in regret and guilt for the rest of my life. How terrifying! The subordinate was stunned for a moment, but seeing Elder Ye's ashen face, he hurriedly agreed. The falling star platform was located at the highest peak of the Sagittarius constellation, the Saint Mountain. Yes, this is the only way I can think of. Bing nodded. But if you die, I will also dissipate. In fact, from a strategic point of view, you should retreat at this time. Hou Yitian nodded. When one's realm increases, one's mental state will naturally be different. The Crane sect's martial techniques originate from the East, and still have some advantages. But, Yi Jiao said anxiously. Xiao Duo, who had always been worried for Crane, heaved a sigh of relief, and immediately replied, yes, Elder Yu. Xiao Duo hesitated for a moment, then clenched his teeth and said, they might not be willing. No buts. Elders was squinted his eyes. I don't care how you take care of them after this, but for this matter, you must do it beautifully. I believe you know what is important. Agree to them. Yi Jiao squeezed the words out of his mouth. The meteor shower platform had an area of roughly 600 square kilometers, and was filled with precious flowers and plants from various planets in Heaven's Road, as though it was a gigantic garden. Xiao Duo was slightly worried. Do we need to send people to protect young Master Crane? The one in charge this time is Yi Jiao, and his son is Yi Zhaogu. Many people have died here. Bing did not hide anything. To enter the suicide room, you need to report to the army. Many talented people have died inside. You have to think clearly. Once you enter, it will not be easy to come out. Bing, who was outside the door, was startled. A majestic back view appeared in front of him. It really looks like it. Tang Tian's expression slowly became solemn. Is Yi Zhaogu really that strong? As long as you are willing to hand it over. Elders heaved a sigh of relief. Keep an eye on this matter, do not make any mistakes, no matter what the conditions are, agree to them. What is there to fear? What is there to fear? At least we still have a chance to fight. At least I am defending my beliefs. That is enough. Elders interrupted him. No buts, the friction between us and Leo constellation is continuously increasing. If there is another Sagittarius constellation, we will definitely lose. At this critical juncture, do not create any more problems. What does Tang Tian think? He is stronger than you think. Bing said. Ho Tian placed his teacup down and said indifferently. Tell him, other than Yi Zhaogu, no one else from the Honorable Martial Alliance is allowed to step into Lupus constellation. Ho Tian waved his hand and said coldly. Let that brat suffer a bit. If he does not suffer, he will think that his crane sex things are invincible. My sister was dragged down by a stupid man, and is so stubborn to give birth to a son, humph. That sounds interesting. Tang Tian was eager to try. This servant feels that young Master Crane has changed a lot, as though he has become more gentle. He even greeted this servant, and his attitude was very amiable. He asked this servant where Wu Taiyu was, and for some reason, when young Master Crane's eyes swept past, this servant did not dare to have any rebellious thoughts. Amidst the flowers, a palace could be faintly seen. He pushed open the door and walked in without looking back. This was probably because the current empress was a female. Out of the 12 palaces, Sagittarius Constellation's palace was especially beautiful, with intricate carvings that could be seen everywhere. It was extremely beautiful. The current Empress Ho Tian, although she had a tyrannical name, but as a female, she was very picky about aesthetics, so she personally presided over the construction of the palace. Ho Tian was very clear of Xiao Duo's thoughts, and was not angry. Relax, although they are the strongest, but they are in a mess with that crazy lion. If they offend me again, I do not mind exterminating them together with the crazy lion. But I feel that what he said is very reasonable. Tang Tian said with a matter-of-fact face. With that, he did not care about Yi Jiao and swaggered off. This world is cruel and merciless. There are many people who lose their lives every day. I do not care about others, but the reason why Tang Tian is because I am such a person. But Yi Jiao felt extremely sullen. The creator of the suicide room, its master commander. There was a period of time where he was restricted by a bottleneck, and he spent his entire day thinking about how to break through the bottleneck. Thus he created the suicide room. Commander is an arrogant and conceited lunatic. He racked his brains and finally understood. His biggest enemy is himself. Yi Jiao's face congealed. He held real power in the Honorable Martial Alliance. Because he was Yi Zhaoji's father, everyone felt that his future was bright. But the left clan elder in front of him, he did not dare to be disrespectful. Tang Tian raised his head. His eyes were like a ball of fire, emitting light and heat. Seeing that the palace master's face was as cold as ice, it was obvious that he was angry. Xiao Duo immediately kept quiet out of fear, and did not dare to speak anymore. Tang Tian said unhappily, "Hey, uncle, you were the one who brought me here." Tang Tian lowered his head and looked at his own palms, and muttered to himself. "I knew it." Bing muttered softly. He shook his head and said, "So, he created the suicide room. The so-called suicide room, it can perfectly project you as your enemy, and you have to kill him to be able to walk out. Kill yourself, so Commander called it the suicide room." But Yi Zhaogu. Yi Jiao was in a bad mood. They said they are willing to pay, but the price is very high. The fearless Tang Tian's heart was beating like a drum. Bing looked at Tang Tian and was silent. After a while he spoke. "In a month's time, we need to spend 12 days to travel back and forth. That also means you only have 18 days. If in 18 days, you are unable to defeat yourself, then you will miss this battle." Bell had already heard that the person in charge of the Honorable Martial Alliance was Yi Zhaoji's son. The 10 most famous youths in the Honorable Martial Alliance were known as the 10 Gentlemen. These 10 people's strengths were unfathomable. and were the true geniuses nurtured by the honorable martial alliance. What do you think of Jing Hao's strength? That's right, but that is too simple. Bing nodded his head, his expression solemn. The suicide room is far more complete than that. Your projection will be exactly the same as you. He will have all of your wisdom, including your willpower, your tenacity, your comprehension. The only possibility for you to kill him is that in these few days, you have improved even more than him. Yi Jiao endured the grievance in his heart and squeezed out a word from his teeth. Yes. The sound of the teacup shattering came out from behind him. He quivered and increased his speed by a few notches. Bang. Retreat? Tang Tian was relatively calm. He looked at Bing. Retreat to where? Wu and Star? Give up everyone, like a stray dog, and wander around the stars to escape? Or hand over the sword? What's the point of living like that? Although his tone was indifferent, Xiao Duo could hear the joy in his voice, and she was happy. Although she did not know what happened in the past, but after so many years, young Master Crane's relationship with them had always been stiff. Now that young Master Crane seemed to have thought it through, that was great. Suicide room, just this name, caused Tang Tian's hair to stand. In his mind, a pitch-black and gloomy room, with ropes hanging from it, a rusty table with all sorts of sharp weapons, all of them stained with fresh blood. Big Brother Jing Hao is very strong. Tang Tian said without hesitation. His current strength was getting deeper and deeper, and he understood how strong Big Brother Jing Hao was. Tang Tian raised his head and looked at the bronze door in front of him. There were no patterns on the door, only a row of shocking words written in blood. Kill him. No need. Ho Yi Tian did not even raise his eyelids. A person who possesses the Saint Sword Ocean Prison is not that simple. But the Honorable Martial Alliance needs to give him a warning, humph, to dare be so arrogant after offending that lion. Who is the person in charge of the Honorable Martial Alliance here? Chapter 325. Perspiration flowed down Tang Tian's cheeks. His breathing was as heavy as a bull's. He finally understood how painful it was to fight with himself. What he had, what he knew, the opponent had it all. Even in the past few days, he had improved, but the opponent was also improving. Bing thought about it. He did not know if his decision was right or wrong. Thinking about how if Tang Tian died in the suicide room, he would also dissipate, this could be considered as betting on himself. Bing laughed at himself. He threw this thought to the side. He felt that he was not wrong. Tang Tian's potential was much bigger than what he thought. Sima Xiangshan extended his hand to touch the blood stains, the fingers that were stained with blood. His tongue lightly licked. This made his face look demonic and sinister. Suddenly, a thread of undetectable undulation was produced at the back of his neck. To argue with the Honorable Martial Group today? Life is really a tragedy. Huh. Jing Hao laughed. The gloomy feelings between his brows were swept away. He was heroic. Junior sister, don't worry. Your senior brother is no longer the Jing Hao of the past. He had imagined that he would fall into a bitter battle, but he did not expect that the battle would actually be so difficult. In the darkness, Sima Xiangshan's entire body was covered with cuts and bruises. Fresh blood dyed his clothes, but he did not care, his eyes vigilantly feeling for the slightest movement around him. After a while, he struggled to climb out from the torrent. The cost of this death special training was rather shocking. The star treasures used were all bought at a high price. The intense and concentrated sounds of sparks exploding could be heard. The two silhouettes separated upon contact, and once again fiercely collided. Maori did not make a sound. His face was contorted in pain, but he forcefully endured it. But in the end he could not endure it, groaned, and fainted. All sorts of wooden blocks, iron hammers, grinding beds continued to destroy his body. What made Tang Tian even more afraid was that the opposite, Tang Tian, was also desperately trying to activate the red eye. How can I win? Ling Su was slightly shaken. Bang bang bang. Xan Mingqi was a little worried. Senior brother, you have to be careful. 6 hours later, Maori slowly woke up. His body was intact. Jing Hao looked at his junior sister's slender shoulders, her face full of sincerity and concern. He was a little dazed. How troublesome. Tang Tian stopped thinking and clenched his teeth. He had to muster 120% of his spirit and use all his strength in order to resist the fierce attacks of Tang Tian. What to do? Another type of battle. Bing said calmly, you can swallow martial spirits, and you will become a spirit military leader, like Tang Yi. But you will inherit some of your own characteristics, such as your knife skills, if your will is strong enough. Of course, there was also the possibility of failure. In that case, there would be nothing left. You can think about it. Senior brother, why are you apologizing? Xen Mingqi smiled and said, there are always so many helpless things. Senior brother, doing what you want to do is the most important. I believe in senior brother. To be able to gain senior brother's favor, I'm afraid his character is also very strong. Senior brother, are you being prepared? That was a Maori's last thought before he fainted again. I know. Jing Hao did not even raise his head. Inside the suicide room was a boundless empty space. He brought the majority of the blueprints of the 07 Army barracks. He wanted to let Sai Lei see which ones could be repaired. He did not want to wait for the results. With the 07 Army barracks, he could do many more things. He was a military leader who survived the chaotic war. This difficulty was not enough to shake him. Bang. Is this the real pointed C spears? Could it be that the pointed C spears that teacher taught me was wrong? Both parties were extremely familiar with each other. Bing did not try to persuade him anymore. He nodded. All right, wait for me to come back. I'll prepare for your matters. Xen Mingqi chuckled. Senior brother, when you lie, your tone will be very unnatural. She then said gently, no matter what senior brother does, Mingqi will support you. In Mingqi's heart, senior brother is the most upright person in the world. Senior brother. Xen Mingqi called out softly. She advised, don't blame Master. Yi Jiao and Master had enmity in the past. Now that his position is higher than Master's, he purposely pressured Master, and Master could not do anything about it. Master is also regretting it now. Is senior brother planning to go to Lupus Constellation? Xen Mingqi asked. When his silhouette disappeared, the frozen young girl suddenly burst into tears. He gently hugged her and released her. Suppressing the emotions in his heart, he laughed, I'm leaving. When everything quietened down, a Maori had already lost consciousness. His badly mutilated body started to glow with a yellow light aura. His flesh and blood started to grow strangely. Senior brother, you can do it. Xen Mingqi raised her fist. Her face had an encouraging smile. If senior brother meets with trouble one day, don't forget about your little traitor. I am senior brother's little traitor. His personality was the same as Tang Tian's. Tenacious and unyielding. Tireless. He liked to take the initiative to attack. He liked to fight with his life on the line. It is not that easy to take my life. Tang Tian felt gloomy. He tried to activate his red eye, but it seemed to have no effect. No matter how hard he tried, it was never like the last time. Both parties were constantly finding the other party's weak points. They were constantly reducing their own weak points. Personally experiencing it was a completely different feeling. The young lady in his embrace was stiff. The fragrance and warmth of the young lady made Jing Hao feel an indescribable sadness in his heart. Junior sister also knew that it would be many years before they parted. Once he fought with Yi Zhaogu, he would undoubtedly fall out with the honorable martial group. Sima Xiangshan's eyes were as cold as a snake's. Sigh. Jing Hao shook his head. I understand Brother Tang. He will definitely not hand over the safe and sound saber. The other four are on good terms with him. I am afraid they will also fall out with the honorable martial group. Fighting with Yi Zhaogu is unavoidable. This matter, Master is in the wrong. He is my master, so I naturally cannot blame him. But since it is Master's fault as his disciple, I cannot shirk the responsibility. Feng Cho subconsciously replied, Of course I do. A hair-thin bloodstain appeared on his face, and a drop of blood gushed out from it. Bing returned to the recruit barracks. Once he was activated, he would be in danger. Without waiting for him to think, the opponent brazenly pounced over. He glanced at Feng Cho, who was floating in the air. After thinking for a while, he stopped in his tracks. Feng Chou, do you still want to fight? Jing Hao was touched. He raised his head and looked at the graceful and gentle junior sister. An indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. The words that were about to come out of his mouth became, "Junior sister, I am sorry. Junior sister, take care." Ling Su's pointed sea spear, in front of the opponent's torrential spear aura, was completely unable to be displayed. He resolutely walked away. Jing Hao packed his luggage. Jing Hao packed and said, "I will go persuade Tang Tian to hand over the safe and sound saber." After a bitter smile, he struggled to get up and started to meditate. "All right." Feng Chou replied. "No need to think about it." Feng Chou shook his head. "Only battles are meaningful to me." Liang Qiu, who was in the torrent, both of his hands were dragging the steel balls, but he was unbelievably nimble, like hugging or entangling, like slapping or flicking. The steel balls that came along with the flow were all struck away by him. His face gradually became serious, the speed of the water flow continued to increase, and the pressure on him was obviously increasing. Xen Mengqi was stunned, her entire body was stiff, and did not listen to her. The scene that she had imagined so many times actually appeared, but her mind was blank. On the 5th day, both parties finally stopped. Without Tang Tian in the recruit barracks, it was somewhat cold. "That brat, I wonder how he is. Damn it. Could it be?" Xen Mengqi's eyes lit up, unable to conceal her joy. The exact same fire scythe ghost claw, the exact same flames, like two fire dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, fiercely clashed together. Without thinking, Sima Xiangshan's body bent strangely. His upper body was like a twisting spring, dodging to the side. It was a tragedy worse than death. Ling Su retreated step by step, the silver frost mount martial artist in front of him. His spear power was extremely heavy, each spear faster than the last. All of them were spear techniques that appeared in his dreams. It was obviously familiar, it was obviously just a slight difference, but why was the power so astonishing? He suddenly took a step forward, opened his arms, and hugged his junior sister. A fish that slipped through the net struck his left shoulder, causing his left arm to become numb. Groaning, his defense immediately crumbled. "Yes, I finally mastered it." Jing Hao was filled with emotions. "Yi Zhaoge can be my first opponent, I am looking forward to it." His and the projection's power were completely exhausted. For 5 days and 5 nights, both parties did not stop to rest. Both parties used everything they had to fight. When their true power was used up, they would use brute force. No one was willing to retreat half a step. In the end, they were like street thugs fighting. In the future, I must definitely pull Fundamental Tang over to enjoy this once. You better seriously consider it. Bing advised. It was obviously just a slight difference, but for the first time, it made him feel like he did not know where to start. He was like a pile of mud lying at the side of the water, blood still dripping from the corner of his mouth, his entire body covered in bruises. Without any strength, he laughed bitterly in his heart. "I really want to sleep like this." Tang Tian gasped for breath, trying his best to think of a way. In the 3 days of fighting, Tang Tian did not gain any advantage. "I will definitely not give up." Flesh and blood splattered, the pain seeped into his bones, a Maori groaned, his face turning white. He forcefully blocked it. He calmly raised his own methods. The sound of the wood colliding with the wind sounded out again, his face changed. A new round was about to begin. In the ice room, it was like an extreme place, extremely cold. Han Bingning, who was sitting cross-legged, was already covered with frost. Like an ice sculpture, her heartbeat was extremely slow, as though it was not there. Tang Tian gasped for breath. In front of him, the person who looked exactly like him was also gasping for breath. Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw had much fewer flaws than before. The opposite, Tang Tian, also had the king peacock eyes. Any small flaws would immediately be found. No need to consider. Feng Chou shook his head and said resolutely, "I am willing. As long as I can fight, I have no other extravagant requests." He suddenly reacted, suddenly opened his eyes wide, and asked in disbelief, "You can let me continue to fight?" Chapter 326. Bing did not reply directly and only said, "You will know when you see it. I will go and find the Mo family patriarch." Mo Wei Tian said indifferently, "The world is in chaos. The Mo family at least needs some methods to protect themselves." Although Tang Tian and the rest were very strong, an army and a saint sword, but at Yi Jiu's level, it was just that. The martial artists of Lupus constellation could not understand how strong the martial artists of the stronger constellations were. As for the army, in Yi Jiu's eyes, it was a joke. Could it be that Tang Tian and the rest were really planning to betray the honorable martial alliance? Mo family patriarch. "I do not dare to teach, but I do have some ideas." Bing said something shocking. "The Mo family does not have military leaders, but we do. If you are really that stupid, then I will let you experience the power of a real army. Although it was painful to spend 600 million, but you get what you pay for." His expression did not change and laughed. "Master Bing, long time no see, I wonder if young Master Tang is here?" "Yes, I am fully in charge." Bing replied straightforwardly. Master Bing really said that? Mo Wei Tian was startled, but was ecstatic. "There is some progress." Bing said ambiguously. "Is it blind cord old man?" Mo Wei Tian was shocked. Out of Mo Wei Tian's expectations, Bing replied straightforwardly, "No. I do not have any thoughts of leading an army at the moment. Tang Yi will lead the Lupus army." Bing did not tell Sai Lei about the special death training. If Sai Lei knew that he had allowed Tang Tian to enter the special death training, he would definitely not hesitate to pick up the bronze hammer by his feet and smash him into a meat patty. Mo Wei Tian was both happy and shocked. He was happy that the Mo family finally had their own strong martial artist. He was shocked that Tang Tian still had a hidden strength. He thought about Ziyu and Wu Wei's words the night before. "The negotiations with Tang Tian are not progressing smoothly. We need to make preparations for something else." Yi Jiu said. "Unless Master Bing intends to personally lead the army?" Mo Wei Tian asked curiously. But what if Tang Tian really did not intend to hand it over? He subconsciously denied this possibility. Betraying the Honorable Martial Alliance meant that he would be hunted down by the Honorable Martial Alliance. Tang Tian was not that stupid. He was willing to throw away his life for a sword? He is in closed-door training. Bing's voice came out from Sky Tiger. Yi Zhaoji's voice was low and hoarse, but it had a terrifying might to it. He casually sat cross-legged, a broken sword full of scars placed beside his legs. He looked relaxed, but he was like a crouching tiger, ready to pounce at any moment. He had gone to Sai Lei's laboratory to take a look at Sai Lei's newly designed mechanical spirit weapons. The performance of those few mechanical spirit weapons were much weaker than the Fire Blade and Fearless Ice, but the price-to-performance ratio was much higher than the Ink Snow that he had sold. He knew that Sai Lei had prepared this for the Mo family. Mo Wei Tian was old and experienced. Naturally, he could hear the hidden meaning in Bing's words, and said, "Master Bing, please enlighten me. I'm going to Lupus constellation." Sai Lei heaved a sigh of relief. "That's good. All right, Mo Wei Tian has been waiting for you for a few days." Although Bing's words were vague, but Mo Wei Tian was completely stunned in place. Countless powerhouses had star coins, but were unable to form an army. Fatty Li was like that, so was the Mo family. Yi Jiu sneered. Yi Jiu looked at his proud son in front of him. The sharp aura that was rushing towards him was like a sharp sword to his eyebrows. Jing Hao trained to a unique level? Yi Jiu's face changed. He was on guard. He was being held back by Tang Tian and the rest, and he did not even know that Jing Hao had trained to a unique level. He was vexed. "If I had known, I would have gotten rid of Jing Hao that year. That is truly raising a tiger to cause trouble." Only Zhao Gu was allowed to enter Lupus constellation? Yi Jiu thought for a moment, then his eyes suddenly lit up. Since the Honorable Martial Alliance could not enter Lupus constellation, then he would find someone else. He could no longer guess what level Sai Lei's mechanical techniques had reached. Bing was surprised. "I thought he would only come after the battle." "What is this?" Sai Lei took the blueprint in a flurry and asked curiously. Mo Wei Tian had been standing outside every day, watching the mechanical martial artist training, Most of the time, his gaze was on Mo Ziyu and Mo Wu Wei. He could not help but nod his head, although his own strength was average, but after all he had fought with mechanical weapons for so many years, he could see that the two of them had improved greatly. It could be said that they had been reborn. I'll go see him. Bing threw the blueprint to Sai Lei. Help me take a look and see what can be fixed. Yi Jiao finally realized he needed to make other preparations. 3 Spirit Cities base was already more or less completed. Although Tang Tian had dismantled many parts, but to Sai Lei, who had ample funds, as long as he had money, everything else was not a problem. Maybe he is more optimistic about you guys. Sai Lei did not care. He could not help but relax and laughed. Could it be that you are worried about Jing Hao? Jing Hao and his kind, aren't they never in your eyes? It was hard to find a good general. That was not an exaggeration at all. Regardless of whether it was the southern sky's 42 constellations or the northern sky's 19 continents, military generals were all rare talents. Bing did not answer, but asked, "Is Patriarch Mo thinking of building an army?" Ziyu and Wu Wei trained a lot during the day, and did not have any time at all, and the master instructor was always strict. The two of them did not dare to be distracted during training. But at night they could do whatever they wanted. Mo Wei Tian and the two of them conversed, and learned a lot of information. For example, the young and weak youths had improved so quickly that even the two of them felt pressured. All of these youths had outstanding talent in mechanical spirit weapons, and the master instructor had poured a lot of effort into them, and with the addition of the blood meridian specialist, the strength of the youths could be said to be improving by the day. Jing Hao went to Lupus Constellation. After a long time of wrangling, Yi Jiao finally lost confidence, and felt that Tang Tian and the rest did not have any sincerity. This caused him to be filled with worry. The reason why he had moved was to go against Jing Hao's master's branch. He was well aware of the importance of fighting between factions, and never think of defeating the opponent in one strike, but to grab hold of every opportunity and slowly weaken the opponent's strength. Pai Pa laughed. The two of them fought with Senior Blind Cord, and it was a draw. He stood up and left after saying that. Tang Tian's ambition was not small. I have never looked down on Jing Hao. Yi Zhaogu did not avoid his father's gaze, and spoke with a low and hoarse voice. He is naturally unswerving, upright and principled. That is the heart of a strong martial artist. Only a martial artist with the heart of a strong martial artist can become a strong martial artist, and I have always been waiting for him. Now that he has mastered a unique technique, he can fight with me, and I am looking forward to it. Yi Jiao did not have time to stop him, and Yi Zhaoji's figure had already disappeared. Yi Jiao's face congealed. He suddenly realized the situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous to him. Mo Wei Tian heard and went straight to the point. I wonder what Master Bing thinks about the Mo family disciples entering the training camp? And in Tang Tian's hands, there was actually a third military general. Mo Wei Tian was startled, his gaze suddenly exploding. Don't tell me you have a third military general? Cetus Constellation's pressure was just an excuse for him to intervene, and he did not even put Cetus Constellation in his eyes. Every time Mo Wei Tian thought about it, he would have such a sigh. Such a gigantic bronze base. When he first saw it, he was completely stunned. With such a large investment, how could the goal be small? Not bad. Bing appeared very calm. Through the Mo family, she had hired a group of powerful but unknown mechanical engineers. The current 3 Spirits City, in the mechanical circle, had a bit of fame. Everything in 3 Spirits City was flourishing and full of life, orderly. Yi Zhaogu did not comment on his father's words. Mo Wei Tian turned his body, and what entered his vision was a blue mechanical spirit weapon. He acutely noticed, Sky Tiger had a few places that had obviously been modified. Seeing Bing, Sai Lei put down the work in his hands. For Bing to come at this time, it must be something important. How's the situation? In front of him, Yi Zhaoji's appearance was not outstanding. His hair was messy, like a bunch of steel wires tangled together. His beard was thick, his gaze as sharp as a sword. The corners of his face were extremely distinct, giving off a feeling of sharpness. That's right. Pai Pa nodded. Patriarch Mo is right. Bing's tone was in agreement, but his tone changed. But, does the Mo family have a military general? Without a military general, there is no way to talk about an army. But Sagittarius Empress warning made him feel uneasy and did not dare to belittle it. Based on this speed, as long as Tang Tian had time, everything here would become a terrifying force. Mo Wei Tian nodded his head in understanding. Once the Ocean Prison's sacred sword is out, the world will be shocked. Young Master Tang is currently in closed-door cultivation. His determination is definitely not something ordinary people like us can compare to. Before coming down, young Master Tang once said that Master Bing can take full control of the army. I wonder. He calmed down. Suddenly, a crazy idea popped up in his mind. Ansai Lei had custom-made new mechanical spirit weapons for them, which were much more powerful than the Mo family's mechanical weapons. Pai Pa had time today, so she came to accompany Mo Wei Tian. Seeing Mo Wei Tian's gratified expression, she said, Ziyu and Wu Wei's strength far surpasses the rest. Ordinary mechanical spirit weapons are no longer suitable for the two of them, so Master Sai Lei specially made 2 sets of mechanical spirit weapons for them. Ziyu's is called Fireblade, Wu Wei's is called Fearless Ice. Master Bing specially designed a corresponding battle strategy for them, and Master once said, if they join hands, they can fight against the martial artists of the Heaven Road's 100 war zones. Time passed quietly. Yi Jiao suddenly thought about Sagittarius Empress warning. The Honorable Martial Alliance only allowed Yi Zhaogu to enter Lupus constellation. Could it be that the Empress had already predicted that Tang Tian would not hand over the safe and sound sword? He did not believe that Tang Tian would make such a decision, so Tang Tian's continuous increase in price, to him, was just greed. Chapter 327. How long has the Swallowtail camp been established for? Bing suddenly asked. Mo Wei Tian was enlightened, and suddenly felt that it was wonderful. The only thing he had to worry about was that it required extremely strong eyesight. Whether or not Bing had such eyesight, Mo Wei Tian did not have much confidence in it, but it was obvious that Bing was the person who understood the mechanical army the most. The majority of the resources in Heaven's Road were in their hands. Any difference in technology, in front of them, was not an obstacle. How's the progress? Bing asked Tang. After sending Mo Wei Tian away, Sai Lei rushed over and asked, where did you get the blueprints from? Pai Pa muttered, if it's true, then it can be explained. The Empress of the Imperial Harem only allowed Yi Zhaogu to enter Lupus constellation, and although Yi Jiao was under pressure and could not openly send people, borrowing power outside of the Honorable Martial Alliance was his only choice. That means Yi Jiao most likely sensed that something was wrong, so he is now making preparations. Bing suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. Yaya led a group of mechanical beasts and continued to rush forward. Yaya seemed to have found joy in rushing forward and commanded his mechanical beast army to expand outwards. Sai Lei's eyes widened, his face was filled with disbelief, and with a slight tremble, Southern Cross Army? Swallowtail Camp? Bing's expression congealed. Out of the spirit region. Bing shook his head. For a big family like the Mo family, without a planet, or even a constellation, it is impossible to accommodate them. Even if Lupus constellation is under our control, we cannot take out a planet to give to the Mo family. Bing was satisfied with the progress. To him, the Mo family's most valuable was the Mo family's reputation in the mechanical domain and the distribution channels of mechanical spirit weapons. As for the rest, he did not care. The Mo family's army was also a cannon fodder army. To the Mo family, it was important, but to Bing, it was meaningless. Mo Wei Tian was stunned for a long time, then regained his senses and said, then what does Master Bing suggest? Sai Lei was disappointed, his face full of regret, and said listlessly, I still have to study the blueprints. There are already a few places that can be fixed. Humph, if we can't go, then we can't go. It's just a wasteland, who wants it? Wait till I have fully grasped it and upgrade 3 Spirit City. It will definitely be better than that broken ruins. Yes, they are a powerhouse active in Northern Sky's 19 continents, Comet Constellation. Bell explained. If not for them secretly gathering information about us, I would not have known that they were actually coveting Lupus constellation. Then I got an uncertain message. Seems like we are in big trouble. Bing said, the army that had been established for 7 years had obviously matured. Even if the strength of the generals was limited, their teamwork was still quite good. The Lupus army was a newly formed army and was most afraid of such an enemy. I haven't heard anything else yet. Belle's expression was not good, but she knew that Pai Pa's analysis was 90% accurate. I will give Patriarch Mo a very simple test method. As long as you pass the test, you can bring them over. Bing did not beat around the bush. The army's special training will take about 5 months. Of course, the spirit cards and mechanical spirit weapons that are required will have to be paid by the Mo family. Other than that, when necessary, we have the authority to use this army. He opened the bronze door. There's nothing to think about, Feng Cho said straightforwardly. Bing retracted his gaze and brought Tang Yi and Feng Cho to a bronze door. I can't think of any other way, Bing said honestly. Mo Wei Tian pondered for a moment, then agreed. With the Mo family's current strength, there would not be any big shots that would look up to them. If the Mo family could migrate out of the spirit region, he was willing to pay a bigger price. Although everyone says that the Northern Sky's 19 continents do not have a true army, but there are still a few similar powerhouses. The Swallowtail camp is one of them. The military leader is called Zhang Zheng. He is at the 8th level and is not in the Heaven Road list. The Swallowtail camp has a total of 500 people, all of them are at least at the 7th level, and the leader is at the 8th level. When Zhang Zheng was young, he studied in Orion constellation, one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, but he did not succeed in his training. Instead, as a military leader, he displayed extraordinary talent. Before he took over, Comet Constellation almost lost its qualifications to be in the Northern Sky, but he followed the requirements of a proper army and created the Swallowtail Camp, which allowed Comet Constellation to step into the ranks of the middle-tier constellations. 7 years. Belle's information was very detailed. Mo Wei Tian took a deep breath, suppressing the excitement in his heart. Lupus constellation? It was the wish of many generations of patriarchs of the Mo family. This ancient mechanical aristocratic family always hoped to have a place to stay. Although the spirit region had many conveniences, but at the same time, there were many drawbacks. For example, the concentration of energy, for example, the resources. It was not suitable for the development of a family. What does Master Bing see in it? Mo Wei Tian asked. Bing heaved a sigh of relief. Seems like the renovation of the 07 barracks was not something that could be done in a short period of time. But this time, the most important thing was to pass the blueprints to Sai Lei. Since it was done, he was prepared to return to the recruit barracks. When Mo Wei Tian heard the words, Mo family's mechanical army, his heart jumped, but Bing's words after caused him to calm down. Bing's words coincided with his. Do not think that the Mo family was an aristocratic family in the mechanical domain. It was just because there was no tiger in the mountain, the monkey was the overlord. The mechanical techniques had declined for many years, and naturally the big shots would not invest in it. But once they realized the power of the mechanical techniques, they would start to invest. Sai Lei's face was filled with unwillingness. Is there no other way? Reporting Master. Tang Yi reported to Bing meticulously. It has all been settled. Both parties came to an agreement, and Mo Wei Tian did not stay any longer, and rushed back to the Mo family. If he knew that Tang Tian and the rest had a conflict with the Honorable Martial Alliance, he would definitely not have agreed. I feel that both of us can cooperate, Bing said calmly. The Mo family has many disciples. I think it is not difficult to choose a portion of them to form an army. Even the lowest grade army, to the Mo family, is of great benefit. If the cooperation is successful, this army, I plan to give it to the Mo family to expand outwards. The Mo family cannot stay in the spirit region forever. Let's go. Bing did not speak any nonsense. The strong sense of urgency made Bing not stay any longer, and immediately returned to the recruit barracks. Seems like I have to hurry. Bing muttered to himself. Although he was already prepared to fight with the opponent, But at that moment, he realized that he did not have enough power. Other than Feng Chou, Tang Yi was there too. In front of the elite army, the cannon fodder army was like trash. The potential and power of the big shots was so terrifying that it made people despair. The Mo family's place of residence requires the Mo family's fresh blood to cultivate. Bing said directly, "We can provide military leaders, but we will not participate. I believe in the Mo family's ability. A qualified mechanical army may not be able to occupy a constellation, but to occupy a planet in the northern sky's 19 continents should not be a problem." Uncertain news? Bing and Pai Pa were attracted by Bell's words. He brought Tang Yi and Feng Chou and headed towards the 07 Army Barracks. When they reached the 07 Army Barracks, Tang Yi and Feng Chou were completely stunned by the magnificent bronze forest in front of them. Both of their faces were filled with excitement. "You can't go," Bing explained patiently. "We entered through a special route. Only Tang Tian can enter. Even I can only enter. He can only bring spirit generals in." Bing nodded his head and did not hide anything. "What we need is this opportunity," Bing said shrewdly. "If the Mo family's operation succeeds, it will definitely shake the mechanical domain. The Mo family's mechanical spirit weapons can flow outwards in large numbers, and the people will flow towards the Mo family. We have to take advantage of this opportunity before anyone else can react. We cannot compete with the big shots in terms of resources, and the only thing that can win them is people. What do we need to pay?" Mo Wei Tian asked calmly. After saying that, she walked away angrily. "The Mo family will be our spokesperson in the mechanical domain," Bing said calmly. "We need such a spokesperson. Once the Mo family's mechanical army appears, I believe, very quickly, mechanical techniques will once again enter everyone's eyes. At that time, our advantage will not be as much." Bing looked around, seeing that there was no one. He said softly, "I found an abandoned barracks." No one thought that Tang Tian would reject to hand over the safe and sound saber. In many people's eyes, the current situation in Lupus constellation had already stabilized. Many people even thought that Tang Tian's strength against Onyx Soul would attract the attention of the higher-ups of the Honorable Martial Alliance, and his future would be limitless. But the formation of an elite army was not easy, and Bing could only plan slowly. But before he left, Bell came back, travel-worn, and brought back a piece of bad news. Mo Wei Tian was not surprised. If the other party truly had such plans, he would seriously consider if it was the right choice to work with them. Giving a piece of land to the Mo family in Lupus constellation was not a problem, but if they were to give a planet to the Mo family, they would definitely receive strong opposition from the local powerhouses of Lupus constellation, and that would be digging their own grave. "All right," Bing agreed. "I wish you all the best." Master Bing's words are extremely true. Mo Wei Tian sighed. "It would be good if we can seize the initiative. Have you guys thought it through?" Bing looked at the two of them. "I want to go," Sai Lei said decisively. Bing was taken aback and looked deeply at Tang Yi. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I heard that Sagittarius Constellation's palace Master Ho Yi Tian only allowed Yi Zhaogu to enter Lupus constellation." Bell's face was solemn. "I cannot confirm the authenticity of this news. I feel that there is a high possibility that it is true. Ordinary people definitely do not know about Yi Zhaogu. If it is true, why would she interfere in this matter? I am not sure." "Yes, there is a high possibility that Yi Jiao will find other helpers." Pai Pa calmly analyzed. "The Swallowtail camp is obviously prepared for the Lupus army. But there is still Ling Su, Crane and the rest. Yi Zhaogu is very strong, but to Yi Jiao, who is a veteran, he will definitely have other backup plans just in case. Also, if both sides break down with Yi Jiao's position, I am afraid that he will not be able to accept a stalemate or a bitter battle, and he will need to destroy the problem. If not, the pressure on him will be huge." "How strong is the Swallowtail camp?" Bing could not help but ask. Mo Wei Tian's entire body trembled. A surge of blood rushed to his head, and his breathing suddenly stopped. "That is a good idea." Mo Wei Tian nodded. Tang Yi said seriously, "Master, This subordinate hopes to lead the Lupus army. Chapter 328. The four walls of the spirit chamber were filled with the unique patterns of the mechanic techniques, densely packed, like the veins of leaves. The spirit chamber originated from the martial technique wall, and was an accidental product of the Southern Cross Army's mechanic techniques. Once, in a desperate battle, the sergeants suffered heavy losses, and the commander had a bright idea, and used the martial technique wall to create a spirit military leader, which greatly alleviated the danger. 2 hours. 1 hour. This was an extremely good sign. Bing realized Feng Chao's willpower was much stronger than he had estimated. With a quick flick of his fingers, another 3 silver cards flew into the second row of grids. When the silver light was saturated, Bing had an additional gold card in his hand, a rank 8 gold card. Devouring was extremely cruel. Bing anxiously looked at the silver card. The flickering light aura meant that Tang Yi was currently in an intense battle with the martial spirit of the spirit card. Flickering meant that the battle was extremely intense. A skinny, gentle-looking spirit general slowly walked out and bowed to Bing. "Warrant Officer Tang Cho, here to report." But, suddenly, the 24 spirit cards that were stuck on the door dissipated like smoke. A rank 8 gold card was placed in the first row of the 8th floor. But Bing still placed the 3rd silver card. Although the success rate of the spirit chamber was much higher than the martial technique wall, but there was still a risk of failure. If it failed, then it would be complete annihilation, the body and spirit would be destroyed, and nothing would be left. It was not that there were no people like Tang Yi who evolved twice, but the risk of the second evolution was much higher than the first. Bing, who had been shocked for 2 hours, was preparing to place the 3rd gold card. He was extremely excited. Tang Yi, this rascal, could definitely be promoted to warrant officer. When the first silver card's light aura gradually dimmed, Bing placed the 2nd silver card. The silver light aura of the 3 cards lit up at the same time, and the silver light quickly permeated the surroundings. Bing was surprised. It was actually an extremely serious person. This was a typical staff officer. Their greatest use was in the staff office and not in the battlefield. If not for the imminent battle, Bing was extremely thirsty for this type of officer, but it was obvious Tang Cho was unable to contribute to the battle. What made him heave a sigh of relief was that the silver light emitted from the card was very stable. It wasn't as violent as the last time, but this time, it took him a whole 10 hours to absorb it. At this moment, the speed at which the silver light seeped into the card began to slow down. Another 10 minutes passed, and another 3 silver cards appeared. Feng Chao's display of power was stronger, the spirit hall was more complete than the martial technique wall, and the number of spirit cards in Bing's hands was much more than before, but most importantly, Feng Chao's was a martial spirit, while Ghost Claw only left behind a trace of qi. A dazzling silver light suddenly blossomed from the silver card. Bing's heart sank. Not good. On the bronze door, horizontal and straight lines formed a grid. Each row had 3 grids, and from top to bottom, there were a total of 18 layers. 18 levels formed the 18 military ranks of the Southern Cross Army. Every level required 3 spirit cards. The spirit cards on the door were not destroyed, which meant that the advancement round was not over yet. Tang Yi still wanted to continue. Feng Cho entered without hesitation. Bing laughed at himself. Bing dared to guarantee that he had used the spirit hall many times, but the situation in front of him was the first time. The 7th level silver card actually almost failed, and the 8th level gold card actually stabilized. But at that moment, he had no other choice. If Tang Yi did not want it to end, then it could not end. If not, he would definitely fail. Taking a deep breath, the light in Bing's eyes exploded. Since you want to continue, then work hard. Bing's expression was solemn, his fingers flying. The cards were quickly thrown into the grid on the door. All these cards were meticulously prepared by him. One by one, the silver light lit up and Bing's expression congealed. He was like a clay statue, staring at the bronze door without moving, for a full 3 seconds. Tang Yi's gold-ranked staff sergeant was at the 6th level. As expected, the silver light started to flicker. One moment it was dazzling, the next moment it was dim, as though it could be extinguished at any time. To call it a door was actually wrong. It was actually a sealed room, called the Spirit Hall. Its entire body was made from the Southern Cross bronze, and the formula of the Southern Cross bronze was an absolute secret in that era. Bing was deep in thought and said, "Warrant officer, please introduce yourself." Bing's fingers trembled. This asshole, his temper was indeed the same as Ghost Claw's. After a full 7 hours, the second spirit card's gold light was completely absorbed. Every barracks would have a spirit hall, in case the situation was critical and they were unable to replenish their manpower. Although spirit military leaders were not as strong as military leaders, but in times of crisis, they were the best replenishment. Bing stared at the bronze door in front of him, somewhat in a daze. Bing's heart was in his throat. Could it be because he was now a spirit general? Why was he so sentimental? In the past, he had used the spirit hall so many times, but he did not feel this way. It was like an old subordinate of his, facing a life and death crisis. The bronze door slowly opened. The second gold card was completely absorbed, and the light aura dimmed. This also meant that Tang Yi's potential had actually been squeezed out. He was already a sergeant major. This was Tang Chao's appearance was completely different from Feng Chao's. Not only was he not ugly, he was rather handsome. He was around 40 years old, his body was skinny, his eyes were extremely spirited, giving people a feeling of elegance, but his hands were empty, without any weapons. The bronze door once again closed. The first to the 7th level of the lattice, all turned gray. In just an hour, this 8th level gold card was actually completely absorbed. This gold card took a full 24 hours to be completely absorbed. Everything was very stable and there were no flaws. Bing heaved a sigh of relief and was extremely excited. The gold light of the card exploded and almost immediately stabilized. The dazzling gold light was strangely stable, and the speed at which the gold light spread caused Bing to be dumbstruck. 2 hours later, the gold light of the gold card had already gradually dimmed. This gold card was placed by Bing on the first lattice of the 8th level. Once the gold card was placed, it released a bright light, and the intense gold light started to quickly spread along the surrounding silver channels. And the silver channels that were as fine as spider webs had an additional trace of gold. Bing's eyes lit up. The speed at which the silver light permeated was very fast. Soldiers were split into 3 levels, soldiers were split into 4 levels, officers were split into 4 levels, officers were split into 3 levels, generals were split into 3 levels, and the strongest was the commander. Alright, I was not a cold and unfeeling person in the past, after that, according to the martial technique wall, but the more advanced spirit hall appeared, it had a higher success rate and a shorter time. For the martial technique wall to nurture a spirit general, it required a very long time to swallow, but the spirit hall greatly accelerated the process. In times of crisis, the enemy would not give you much time. Bing wanted to remind Tang Yi, but Tang Yi was already walking towards the bronze door. Bing was very clear. Tang Yi's innate foundation was too weak. If it was before Ghost Claw dissipated, Bing felt that with Ghost Claw's willpower, he would at least be a captain. But the strand of spirit that Ghost Claw injected was too weak. But to rely on such a weak spirit to be able to produce a gold staff sergeant already made Bing feel shocked. When he rose to the 7th level, the spirit hall's surroundings seemed to be enveloped by silver channels. It looked extremely beautiful, but at this time, the silver light was already saturated. Bing was not surprised. He knew, from the 7th level to the 8th level, it was a qualitative leap. Yes. Tang Cho complied and walked to the side. What logic was that? Bing knew that Feng Chao's devouring was almost finished, but he still placed the 3rd gold card. Bing laughed at himself and retracted his state of mind. The dazzling gold light continued to permeate into the silver channels. Bing's eyeballs immediately popped out. The expression on his face was as though he had seen a ghost. When Bing placed the 2nd gold spirit card, his entire brain was not working well. Time slowly passed. The rapidly changing silver light gradually stabilized. After spending 3 hours, the silver light of the silver card then started to dim. Compared to Tang Cho, Tang Yi's efficiency was far from it. Feng Chao's martial spirit was also incomplete. but compared to Ghost Claw's thin chi, it was still much stronger. Just at this time, suddenly, the first gold card was destroyed, transforming into a cloud of smoke and dissipating. The scene in front of him was extremely strange. The second gold card was releasing a weak gold light, and the two squares on its left and right were empty. At this time, Bing placed the second gold card. It was also an 8th level gold card. When this card was placed, it released the same gold light, but the speed at which the silver channels absorbed the gold light was obviously slower. But Bing could feel Tang Yi's determination and did not object. Bing placed the silver card on the first square on the 7th level. The silver card's light aura flourished, and the silver light was very stable, which made Bing heave a sigh of relief. In terms of commanding ability, the Sergeant Major's commanding ability was 100, while the Warrant Officer's commanding ability was 200. But the difference between the two was not only the commanding ability of 100. In terms of battle tactics, there was a considerable difference between the two. At the rank of Warrant Officer, military generals would start to differentiate. Some were known for their individual strength, some were good at controlling auras, and some were good at battle tactics. The Spirit Hall used them a lot, and naturally had some experience. Feng Chou was an 8th level Spirit General, so he had to start from the 8th level. He picked out 3 8th level Silver Spirit cards, and placed them at the lowest level of the Spirit Hall. Every square was placed a Spirit card, and the Spirit cards were absorbed into the square, lighting up with a gentle silver light, the silver light quickly permeating into the veins on the walls. In a short 10 minutes, Bing had already thrown out 15 cards, which meant that Feng Chou had already reached the rank of sergeant and was only 1 level away from Tang. "Thank you for your hard work, Warrant Officer. Please wait at the side." Bing nodded. The 7th level was for the Sergeant Major, and the 8th level was for the Warrant Officer. As for Bing's military rank, even Tang Tian did not know. The 15th level, Major General. Feng Chou was a battle maniac, and actually became a staff-type warrant officer. As expected, the world was unpredictable. Tang Chou bowed. "Yes, officer." Tang Chou, 8th level, fighting ability is terrible, technique is passable, tactics are good. Bing's expression was solemn. He took out a chest, opened it, and inside it was filled with spirit cards. He took out all the spirit cards. In the past, he had used the Spirit Hall countless of times, and by right, he should be familiar with it, and should not have any emotional fluctuations. But why did he actually feel a tinge of nervousness? Chapter 329. At this time, he needed to replenish his card. "Well done." Bing nodded his head. He took out the star treasure that he had prepared for a long time. The low voice caused people's hearts to tremble. Bing then clearly saw Tang Yi's appearance. Tang Yi did not change much, other than his body becoming more tall and sturdy. The most eye-catching change was his zanbato. Bing's heart gradually calmed down. He sat down on the sand dune. Beside him, Sky Tiger accompanied him, watching the sun slowly set. 20 minutes later, the news of the star door from Cetus constellation to Lupus constellation being closed quickly spread. Any unique military leader was different from the rest. Bing's heart sank. He did not expect that the opponent would come so quickly. He had just closed the star door, and the opponent had already killed his way here. It was obvious that the opponent was long prepared. "Young lad Tang, you must do your best." 500, Tang Yi replied solemnly. "You want to continue leading Lupus army?" Bing casually asked. "Hey Bing, the only thing you can rely on is yourself." Warrant Officer Tang Yi reporting. Bing muttered in his heart, and when he reacted, he could not help but laugh. He had actually unknowingly treated the unreliable person as the most trustworthy person. Yi Jiao clenched his teeth and squeezed the words out, his eyes bloodshot, his expression sinister. The subordinates that were guarding by the side all kept quiet out of fear. The word unique had a long history. Before immortal martial named unique martial techniques, very few people knew that the 3 great armies had also used the same word, just that they used it to name military leaders. In that era, it was an era where military leaders were produced, and almost all the strong martial artists were military leaders, but there were always some military leaders who were special in a certain domain, they had attainments that others could not surpass. These military leaders were called unique military leaders. Master, an army has appeared in the west, numbering about 500. Good, you can head to 3 Spirit City. Bing turned his head. Without hesitation, Yi Zhaogu disappeared into the horizon. The setting sun was like blood, sprinkling across the desert. Bing stood up from the sand dune that he had sat on for 4 days and 4 nights, and walked in front of Huama Air, closed the star door to Cetus constellation. The higher-ups of Cetus constellation were all enraged. I can finally catch up with the excitement. The ghostly voice seemed to dissipate in the darkening night. No one noticed when Sima Xiangshan appeared there. How many do you command? Bing asked Tang Yi. He was not too sure how many warrant officers could command. If Tang Yi died, this Samadeo would not disappear with him, but would remain in this world. On the 4th day, the last night of the ultimatum, Tang Chou turned and flew towards 3 Spirit City. That stupid, crazy young man who would go crazy from time to time? Hey Bing, you have long lost the leader who supported you. Alright, he had been asleep for too long, and his skills had regressed too much. He had actually made such a low-level mistake. Bing looked at the suicide room, which did not have any movements. 10 minutes later, she flew back and said, "Sir, the star door has been closed." There were only 5 days left, Bing shouted softly in his heart, and turned without hesitation. Go, let's return to the Lupus tribe. 500? Bing was startled, but immediately nodded his head. It was out of his expectations. An ordinary warrant officer's command was 200, but Tang Yi actually had 500. As expected of a unique military general, a warrant officer's command was already the same as a first lieutenant. But Bing had already calmed down. A unique military general was powerful, but no matter how powerful, Tang Yi was still a warrant officer and could not place too much hope on him. The ultimatum, Bing casually threw it into the rubbish bin. Tang Chou said solemnly. Bing laughed at himself. He was truly a person who was never content. He had actually met such a rare, unique spirit military general, and he actually felt that his military rank was too low. Bing wanted to reply, but suddenly Sima Xiangshan exclaimed. He turned his head and looked at a sand dune in the distance. Everyone's eyes followed his gaze. The so-called replenishing the card meant that the card in front needed to be replenished again, which was extremely rare. When the spirit cards on the door were destroyed, most of them would be destroyed at the same time when the spirit general was completed, because this was the sign of the new spirit general cutting off all previous connections and completing a new life. A tall and sturdy figure, with a powerful aura, slowly walked out. With that, he took the lead and flew far away. It was a dazzling golden triangle, a gold treasure of the Triangulum constellation in the northern sky. Triangulum Vortex. This was a gold treasure that Bing spent 1 billion to buy from the market. It was able to produce a formless energy vortex, which could disrupt energy. Alright, in terms of intelligence, the only person that Bing could beat was probably a Maori. Crane. Suddenly, a few of the scouts had panicked expressions. Yi Jiao's anger subsided, but his gaze was still cold. Humph. This time I will let you all experience my methods. The bronze door slowly opened, and Bing's eyes widened. All of a sudden, all the cards were annihilated with a bang. They turned into smoke and disappeared. The 2 cards' golden light was extremely stable and lasted for a full 15 hours, before the golden light gradually dimmed down. Your encampment is 3 Spirit Cities training camp, and you have 2 missions. The first is to help Pai Pa and set up a general staff office. But now there is nothing for you to advise, so your second mission is to be in charge of the training camp's daily training. Do you understand? Bing looked at Tang Chou. Very good, then from today onwards, you will be the general of the Lupus army. Bing said deeply. He turned his face to Tang Chou. Warrant Officer Tang Chou, I will now announce your appointment. Jing Hao, I know you're here. Come out. Thinking back, Bing suddenly realized in his heart he had always thought that the key to victory was Tang Tian. Of the same level of military generals, a unique military general was far stronger than an ordinary military general. Tang Yi replied straightforwardly. Master, an army has appeared from the east, There are about 200 of them. Let's change locations. Yi Zhaoji's expression was indifferent. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Master, 2 people from the north are approaching. They do not have good intentions, and their speed is extremely fast. A figure floated in the sky above the Lupus tribe, and no one actually noticed his arrival. But this was probably the lowest-ranked unique military general in the history of the army, a warrant officer's unique military general. The voice came so suddenly, without any warning, the people of the Lupus tribe subconsciously stopped what they were doing and raised their heads to look at the sky. Yi Zhaoji's hoarse and low voice was like an explosive hurricane sweeping out in all directions, turning illusions into reality. The reason why the Southern Cross Army was so strong in the past was because the army had more unique military generals than the other 2 families. But the Spirit Hall actually produced a unique spirit military general. This was something he had heard of before, but it was his first time personally witnessing it. Ling Su's stern voice came out from behind Bing. A figure shot into the sky like an arrow. It was actually Jing Hao. It was the nemesis of the Honorable Martial Alliance's Honorable Martial Door, which was a fixed-point teleportation. At the same time, there was a wave of bone-chilling cold. Brother, Jing Hao's expression was calm. He was not surprised. With his relationship with Tang Tian, his every move was seen by others. Guessing that he came to Lupus Constellation was not strange. Bing's body trembled. Hey, uncle, where's my flamingo? His underlings immediately gave the order to attack. Hua Er's heart trembled. She did not speak any nonsense, and quickly flew out, giving the order that was already agreed upon. Bing's heart was filled with anticipation. The replenishment of cards was an extremely rare situation, and would also allow the Spirit General to have some special abilities. Bing had met with replenishment cards before, but he had never met such a low-level Spirit General before. An Tangyi himself was a gold-ranked staff sergeant, which was also extremely rare. Bing heard the 2 words, Brother Yi, and was shocked Yi Zhaogu. But seeing that Jing Hao had lured Yi Zhaogu away, Bing heaved a sigh of relief. Yi Zhaogu was obviously Jing Hao's strongest support, and with him being lured away, it was undoubtedly one less threat. A formless undulation with the gold triangle as the center spread out in all directions. Beside a Maori who was immensely pleased with himself, Han Bingning lowered his eyebrows and walked slowly with his sword. When Bing and Tang Yi returned to the Lupus tribe, they received another bad news. Yi Jiao had sent out an ultimatum, giving them only 5 days. If they did not hand over the safe and sound saber, they would have to bear the consequences. His heart was filled with worry. Until now, it had already been 20 days, but there was no movement from everyone. Similarly furious, Yi Jiao, who had just received the news, his face was green. He was indeed tricked by Tang Tian. This rascal did not even have the intention to hand over the safe and sound saber. Jing Hao was taken aback. Yi Zhaoji's words had a deeper meaning. Unique military leaders among the spirit military leaders were extremely rare. Their unique characteristic was very obvious, and that was to turn from illusion to reality. Spirit generals were ultimately illusory bodies, like Tang Yi. Regardless of whether it was his body or his zanbato, they were all illusory bodies. But the zanbato in his hand had turned from illusory to reality, and had become a real body. Buzz. When a spirit general was produced from a spirit hall, there was a rather rare situation, called replenishment of cards. Without hesitation, Bing placed a rank 8 gold grade card in the first and third grid. For Tang Yi to be able to rise to the rank of warrant officer, Bing was already extremely happy. Tell them move out. But Yi Zhaoji's suggestion was exactly what he wanted. This was the Lupus tribe. If they were to fight, the Lupus tribe would definitely be destroyed. He nodded his head. All right. All right, that rascal's strength was actually not bad. But sometimes it was not effective, and deeply illustrated the true meaning of the word, convulsion. Phew, I'm not late. Liang Qiu was panting, his entire body was drenched, his feet bare, his hands and legs were not even broken in time. That was a unique military leader. The gentle Tang Chao's face became solemn. Master, please bestow it. The previously gray blade had now become as black as ink, and the quality seemed to have become even heavier, like the black blade, the golden mark of Southern Cross constellation, was clearly visible. Furthermore, it was a unique military leader. 2 seconds later, a swordsman with tattered clothes appeared on the sand dune, only his eyes were clear as water. "Wait a minute, Jing Hao." But there were always exceptions. For example, the 8th floor's first gold grade card suddenly disappeared, which meant that the spirit general's speed of devouring martial spirits had suddenly increased. "Since you guys are seeking death, then I will fulfill your wish." Bing's face finally changed. He had underestimated Yijio. Yijio actually had so many tricks up his sleeves. "Hey, uncle, are you scared? Wah, only a lively martial man can come and save you." A Maori's pleased voice came from behind him. Bing looked at the sand dune in the distance. The bright red setting sun dyed the sand dune a fiery red. It was the sign of a big battle. "Tangtung, do your best." The 2 gold grade cards lit up with a golden light. It was extremely dazzling. Chapter 330. Regardless of emotions or in the future internal struggles of the Honorable Martial Group, they would definitely not choose Tang Tian. Ling Su held onto his silver spear, flipped and sat on Flamingo, his orange pupils surging with flames. He coldly said, "I alone am enough." Sima Xiangshan lowered his voice, "Don't count that idiot in." As time passed, both parties still did not come to an agreement, causing everyone to once again smell something strange. Everyone realized there was an undercurrent quietly surging. Compared to Jing Hao, Tang Tian was much stronger. He had just formed his wings and formed his own faction. The neutral faction no longer had any space for Tang Tian to survive. Unless they chose Tang Tian and gave up on Jing Hao. In the distant desert, an army with a similar number of people slowly entered their vision. Almost everyone thought that Tang Tian would definitely become the core member of the 3rd-generation disciples of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Bing muttered to himself. The sound of the bugle horn caused the fighting intent in his chest to ignite. How generous! There was no wind coming from an empty hole. A Maori was slightly regretful. Such a pity Fundamental Tang is not out yet. Such a pity, the lively martial man's wild earth blade, the godlike young man will not be able to see it. Why, he did not get to see it. He. Lively martial man. Wild earth blade. Invincible. In the past few days, Tang Yi did not slack off on the training of the army, and after experiencing the tempering of the flames of war, the improvement was much faster than before. The soldiers who had been on the battlefield had a deeper understanding of training than before. They knew why they needed such training, what kind of training could help them survive on the battlefield. A gentle voice came out. Crane was like a big black crane, floating down in front of everyone. His clothes were tattered. One could imagine how difficult it was for him to go through the past few days. "Uncle, you can arrange it." Hearing what junior brother said, it does have some meaning. Qiu Zhijun nodded his head. The strongest army, the most military leaders, the craziest king, that was Leo constellation. Then is Master Arrow Saint's order real? Qiu Zhijun asked. After pondering for a while, everyone realized that this was prepared for the Honorable Martial Gate of the Honorable Martial Alliance. But that was absolutely impossible. Qiu Zhijun was moved, such a strong power. However, with such pressure, don't the other members of the Honorable Martial Alliance have any objections? When Lupus Constellation closed the star door to Cetus Constellation, all the people who were watching Lupus Constellation went into an uproar. Everyone wanted to watch the show, but when the Real show appeared, everyone felt that Tang Tian was stupid and overestimated himself. This enigmatic character. Everyone couldn't help but roll their eyes. Ling Su and Crane, I will leave the 2 from the north to you two. We don't know the origins of these 2 people, so you have to be careful. It's windy. Let's go. Ling Su and Crane were the 2 young geniuses. A Maori and the other 3's feelings towards Tang Tian were much higher than the Honorable Martial Group, adding the Saint Sword Ocean Prison, an army, 2 spirit military leaders, especially Bing, with his astonishing control aura, had shocked all the elders of the neutral faction. This feeling is so good. Heh, so this is your comrade? Sima Xiao sneered. Other people think that Onyx Soul has a strict hierarchy, but they don't know that the righteous honorable martial alliance is even worse. With the pressure from above, it is a normal thing. I dare say that in a while, Yi Jiao will announce that Tang Tian and the rest are traitors of the honorable martial alliance. Tang Yi, who had been promoted to a warrant officer, had a much higher attainment in tactics than before, and the training of the army was much more effective. All the elders had watched Jing Hao grow up, and he was truly one of them. As for Tang Tian, he came from a fringe planet, and had very little contact with the honorable martial alliance. The neutral faction was strong, but they had long found a successor, and that was Jing Hao. If Tang Tian was alone, they would do everything in their power to protect Tang Tian, and groom Tang Tian to become Jing Hao's helper. But there were a few exceptions like Sima Xiao. A Maori excitedly waved his broken blade to cut the air. Bing jumped onto Sky Tiger. Don't forget that immortal constellation who was recovering was also Tang Tian's support. He shook his head and could not help but sigh. This was truly a world where the fist was the biggest. Our mission is to deal with the army in the west, Bing said to the four of them. Bing's heart was immediately stuffed to the brim. The coldness of the desert's evening seemed to have disappeared without a trace, and the gradually darkening sky did not have a trace of loneliness. His gaze swept across everyone, and suddenly, it was like 10,000 years ago in the smoke, all the familiar faces. Such an opponent, even the strong honorable martial alliance, was somewhat fearful. The majority of the honorable martial alliance's strong martial artists were all mobilized, and this was no longer a secret in Heaven's Road. Truly too arrogant. Qiu Zhijun remained silent. But a pity he could only wait for the battle to end. Qiu Zhijun did not sleep, he sat there, deep in thought. Not long later, a subordinate rushed in. Seeing that Sima Xiao was sleeping, he handed the report to Qiu Zhijun. And Yi Jiao, with his sharp eyes, saw this point, and made his moves ruthlessly and accurately. Tang Yi replied expressionlessly. He turned and brought the assembled Lupus army, and sprinted towards the east. Yi Jiao is not a mediocre person. His methods have always been ruthless and sharp. Sima Xiao raised his leg and placed it on the table in front of him, his body half lying down, the desserts in his hands stuffed into his mouth, and said, Swallowtail Camp, Heavy Iron Army, out of the 5 armies in Northern Sky's 19 continents, only 2 came. Adding Guangwu and Yong Xianzhong, they truly have thunderous methods. Sima Zhao's thoughts wandered. If the various powerhouses were to choose an enemy that they did not want to provoke, Lion King Lei Ong would definitely be ranked first. That man was a lunatic, and his subordinates were also lunatics, a group of lunatics whose eyes would light up upon talking about war. But Tang Tian was not alone, and a small group gradually formed around Tang Tian. But what happened next was something that no one could understand. Actually, the timing now is the most advantageous for Tang Tian. The Honorable Martial Alliance and Lion King are like fire and water. Lei Ong, that lunatic, truly makes people afraid. If they are not careful, they will be killed. The Honorable Martial Alliance also knows to fight with that lunatic. If they show any signs of losing, it will be the end of their lives. Does he think that just because he has some strength, he can challenge the Honorable Martial Alliance? And with regards to the Sagittarius Empress Restriction Order, it quietly spread among the various powerhouses. Wielding the Saint Sword Ocean Prison, her strength was unfathomable, and she had 2 spirit military leaders under her, and currently, the entire Lupus constellation was in her hands. Adding that she was in the Honorable Martial Alliance, the publicly acknowledged strongest powerhouse, her future was limitless. The wind blew up the sand curtain, like a mist. The sound was like a bugle horn, a low whimper. It should be. Sima Xiao revealed a look of deep thought. But, for a person like the Empress who is so busy, she will definitely not waste her time on unimportant matters. For her to do so, there must be some deeper meaning. Just that, I do not know who among Tang Tian's group has any connection with Sagittarius constellation. And the Empress Restriction Order is very thought-provoking. She opposed the Honorable Martial Alliance's large group entering Lupus constellation, but allowed Yi Zhaoge to enter alone. From the looks of it, It seems like she is using Yi Xiaogu as a grindstone. Unless Tang Tian is her junior? Or, among the group of people, there is someone who is her junior? Seems like we need to investigate. Everyone looked at Bing. The previous battle, to a rookie army, was undoubtedly a true metamorphosis. Don't think that it was just a battle. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. To be able to make the enemy so fearful, it was in itself a kind of glory. Bing also lowered his voice. I know. Bing took a deep breath, his gaze becoming cold. Good. Tang Yi, the Eastern Army, Swallowtail Camp, I'll leave it to you. Your mission is, no matter what, to persevere for an hour. Clan Elder Yi Jiao requested for Tang Tian to hand over the safe and sound saber, while Tang Tian's neutral faction gave up on Tang Tian. This caused everyone to be unable to understand. Tang Tian was so young, with the strength and talent he had displayed. Why would the Honorable Martial Alliance choose such a method? At least we are not late. Everyone then realized Tang Yi's change, and could not help but be secretly surprised. Many of the powerhouses who were watching the battle all had the same problem, that was Bing's triangular gold vortex, was disrupting the energy undulations of the entire Lupus constellation, although the degree of disruption was not big, but it made all the star treasures that could transmit images lose their effect. When the pressure from Cetus constellation came, all the powerhouses heard it, but they did not care. Cetus constellation might be one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, but other than Leo constellation, who would care about the Honorable Martial Alliance? The previous battle of Lupus constellation attracted countless eyes, although a month had passed, but there were still many people watching Lupus constellation. What they were most concerned about was the sudden rise of Tang Tian. Qiu Zhijun swept a glance, praising his junior brother in his heart for not being wrong at all. Yi Jiao had announced that Tang Tian, Amauri and the other 4 were traitors of the Honorable Martial Alliance, but the weird thing was he did not issue any wanted orders to kill them. Flamingo transformed into a regiment of flames, flying towards the north. Suddenly he stopped. More importantly, it meant that Tang Tian and the rest were long prepared, which made everyone's hearts itch even more, and they could not wait to head over to the battlefield. Heh, this is fighting side by side. Crane laughed helplessly, waved his hands to everyone. Like a big crane, he soared up and followed closely behind Ling Su. The Lupus soldiers behind him all stopped at the same time. Crane's words received everyone's approval. Out of all of them, only Bing was a military general and was the most familiar with such a scene. Tang Yi sat on his horse, controlling the horse's speed, and walked emotionlessly at the front of the group. Behind him, the Lupus army's formation was solemn and silent. So everyone was curious, what would Tang Tian choose? Very quickly, the news of Tang Tian being willing to hand over the safe and sound saber spread out, and all those who wanted to watch the show were disappointed. Qiu Zhijun sighed and understood, it was because Yi Jiao did not dare to offend the Empress. Among the troops, there was an additional somber intent. Sima Xiao mumbled, I never thought that Tang Tian and the rest would actually have a star treasure to interfere with the energy. We can't watch the show anymore. I did not even recall my scouts. Truly, I wasted such a big battle. Now we can only wait for the results. Oh, I'm a little tired, I'll sleep first. Sima Xiao fell asleep on the chair. The Honorable Martial Alliance was not an iron bucket. As people continued to dig, more and more details appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 331. What a tyrannical blade! It saved us the effort of searching. Yong Xianzhong said casually. That pair of indifferent eyes was filled with murderous intent. Ling Su's palm gently caressed Flamingo, and Flamingo intimately used its head to rub against his palm. A bad thought popped up in Zhang Zheng's mind. Yi Jiao was his father-in-law, and Yi Xiaogu was his brother-in-law. How could he reject them? Silently cursing in his heart, Crane opened up his arms and flapped them gently, his speed suddenly increasing. Guang Wu's appearance was old, his face was full of wrinkles, his hair was white like snow, but his gaze was extremely sharp. He carried a large blade on his back. He squinted his eyes. This old man never thought that the person I would be accompanying would actually be nephew Yong. Is Teacher Bien safe and sound? The opponent's attack was exactly what Zhang Zheng wanted. The Swallowtail camp was stronger in defense than offense. He was initially worried that the opponent would not come out, but he did not expect for the entire army to come out, causing him to be overjoyed. The shield-bearers of the army stood at the outermost perimeter of the circle formation. They raised the shields in their hands at the same time and frantically injected true power. Suddenly, the two of them stopped talking and looked into the distance. A red and a black figure was rushing towards them. Tang Yi, who was on horseback, suddenly arched his body. His gaze was on the enemy and was somewhat interested. In the past few days, he had heard of the rumors regarding Tang Tian and was rather interested in Tang Tian's people. Everyone knew that Yong Xianzhong was Bian Wu Heng's closed-door disciple, but very few people knew that he was Yi Jiao's son-in-law. Yi Jiao's daughter was his wife. But their speed had decreased. They were truly benefiting themselves. The Swallowtail camp had also discovered the Lupus army and stopped about a kilometer away from the Lupus army. Yong Xianzhong's heart trembled, but he did not expect that the bird-riding martial artist would be so valiant. Borrowing the momentum, he welcomed the blood-red blade aura and soared into the sky. I am also stronger than before. As for the Lupus army, he did not place them in his eyes at all. To him, if such a newbie army was considered an army, it was a joke. Compared to his Swallowtail camp, the difference in strength was too great. A cold smile appeared at the corner of Zhang Zheng's mouth. He was filled with confidence. Up until now, the battle had already fallen into his rhythm. Although he had sacrificed 50 shield-bearers, it was undoubtedly extremely worth it. Ling Su thought silently. Suddenly, he raised his head and saw two black dots in the distance. His expression turned cold and he rushed forward without hesitation. Next, it was time for the tactic he was best at, positional strangulation. The reason why elites were elites was because of their powerful battle prowess and because of their glorious battle records. It was simply too powerful. Suddenly, he felt a gaze fall on him. The flamingo sprinted across the desert. The blazing red flames on its body formed a horizontal line of fire as it sprinted. Ling Su was very happy. The speed of the fiery bird was even faster than before. More importantly, the flamingo martial spirit seemed to be even stronger than before. Guang Wu nodded. To be sure, the prosperity of the secular world is boring. He subconsciously looked over and saw a pair of cold eyes. For the sake of inviting him, Yi Jiao gave him a price that he could not reject. Although he was greedy, he was extremely cautious, and repeatedly studied every detail of the Battle of Lupus Constellation. His personal strength was not strong, but his tactics were rather good. What he was most afraid of was the spirit military leader with the astonishing control aura. The crucial point was that it was already too late for them to turn back. Right from the start, the one in charge of the Lupus army was Tang Yi. For some reason, Zhang Zheng felt that something was amiss. What detail did he miss out on? Yong Xianzhong bowed slightly to express his gratitude. My master's body is still healthy, just that he does not like outside matters and lives in seclusion. Even this junior can only see him a few times a year. The gigantic blade aura fiercely slashed onto the light barrier. The dense killing intent locked onto Zhang Zheng. Suddenly, the Lupus army in front of them actually took the initiative to attack and rush towards them. Wait a minute. What is he trying to do? The Swallowtail camp's formation suddenly changed and quickly shrunk to the center, forming a circle. The formation was dense. The spirit military leader wielding the Zanbato, Zhang Zheng, recognized him immediately. He was the spirit military leader that charged into the formation that day. This spirit military leader was suitable to be a sharp blade, but completely unsuitable to lead an army. That's right. That's right. But at the same time, he was clear that in the army, your value would forever be related to your ability. To obtain Master Bing's approval, the Lupus army had to display sufficient fighting strength and needed sufficient victories. Strangle! Guang Wu was already unable to suppress the killing intent in his heart and took the lead to pounce towards the red figure. In the air, Guang Wu unsheathed his blade, and with a sound, like an eagle pouncing on a rabbit, he rushed forward. Killing intent flashed past Zhang Zheng's eyes. Open! The light barrier immediately shattered, and all the shield soldiers felt as though their chests were struck by a heavy hammer, and their bodies fell backwards. Their comrades behind immediately held them up and injected true power into their bodies. The 200 men of the Lupus army that were rushing towards them were not in a mess, and were in a standard arrow formation. He had never heard of the Swallowtail camp, and did not care. Master's order was for him to fight for an hour, and Tang Yi could understand the meaning of the order. A silver cold aura blossomed in his vision. In that moment, the Lupus army was already less than 50 m away from them. Swallowtail-like blades. To an army that was charging, losing the advantage of speed would cause the threat to plummet. Such a high-speed assault was a test of leadership, and if the leadership was not enough, the formation would definitely be in chaos. But the enemy's formation in front of him was not in the least bit in chaos. Tang Yi was actually very clear that Master Bing did not place much importance on the Lupus army. That was not strange. Tang Yi was born because of the Southern Cross Army, and he was very clear of the army's situation. Furthermore, Master Bing was in charge of the recruit barracks, and these Lupus army were far inferior to the vassal soldiers, so it was not strange that Master Bing did not care about them. Seeking death. Zhang Zheng's expression turned cold, and suddenly bellowed, "Circle formation." Yong Xianzhong was about 25 or 26 years old, dressed in luxurious brocade robes. His demeanor was that of an immortal, not tainted by any worldly aura. He chuckled while flying. "Mr. Yi is truly an ambitious and ruthless person. I never thought that you would be able to invite a senior like Elder Guang. This junior is truly surprised." Because Tang Yi had feelings for them, and because Tang Yi was not satisfied. The distance between both parties quickly closed. "You must be excited, you must be impatient, our home is on the battlefield." Master requested for him to fight for an hour, but what Tang Yi wanted was a victory. Like a sudden clap of thunder, the weather changed. Once the formation started, it meant that victory was not far away. Tang Yi suddenly leapt into the air, his pitch-black zanbato raised high above his head, his body stretched and bent, only his face was calm and unruffled. Yong Xianzhong was a person with a great background. His teacher, Bian Wu Heng, had stepped into the sacred Saint Galaxy 10 years ago and shook the world. Zhang Zheng calmed down. Seems like Yi Jiao's arrangements had caught Tang Tian and the rest unprepared to actually commit such a grave mistake. If they were able to defeat the famous Lupus army, then their own Swallowtail camp would also rise, and their name would become even more famous. Kill! He was not satisfied. Such a tenacious army was being treated as a cannon fodder army. The soldiers formed into small formations, like a pair of scissors that were spinning at high speed, spinning and turning. They truly did not know life from death. The Lupus army's momentum was stopped. The huge recoil caused their chests to feel stuffy, but luckily they had the advantage in numbers, so they were not injured. The biting cold killing intent caused the hearts of the Swallowtail camp soldiers to tremble, but luckily Zhang Zheng was experienced and shouted, "Shield!" Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. "Commander!" This army that was destined to become cannon fodder did not have a single person who did not work hard. No one was lazy, they were not afraid of death. Seeing them grow bit by bit, seeing them sweat, seeing them fight with their lives, Tang Yi, who had personally built them up, was willing to become their commander. Not good. This spirit military leader was hiding his strength the last time. Guang Wu was hailed as the blood blade artist, and had been famous for 30 years, but because he was too bloodthirsty and cruel, he had difficulty increasing his realm. But his own strength was extremely strong, and was ranked 8315 on the Heaven Road list. Master Bing did not think highly of the Lupus army. The blade aura was dyed with blood. Zhang Zheng, who was naturally suspicious, had this thought, and his face could not help but change. Seeing the Lupus army soldiers being flustered, blocking left and right, looking extremely battered and exhausted, Zhang Zheng's heart was extremely pleased. Lowly and weak, tenacious and tenacious. 200 blade auras merged into one and pounced forward. The zanbato in Tang Yi's hand that was as big as a door brought along a terrifying wind sound and slashed out. Behind him, The lupus soldiers all brandished the curved blades in their hands. But it was very interesting. Yong Xianzhong's face was indifferent, but his heart was not happy. He was from a prestigious family, and naturally did not like these demonic martial artists. Humph, this old man owed Yijio a favor in the past, and today I will return it. Guangwu licked his lips, his eyes filled with killing intent. Today, I will kill to my heart's content. 50 shield auras lit up at the same time, converging into a light barrier, protecting the entire army inside. Bian Wu Heng had 3 disciples. Yong Xianzhong was ranked last, and his strength was the weakest, but in the Heaven Road list, he was ranked 8,228. He truly has no team spirit. Zhang Zheng was roughly 40 years old, with a rough appearance. He sized up the lupus army in front of him. When he saw the spirit military leader at the front, he sneered, "We will definitely win this battle." After spending a long time with the lupus soldiers who endured hardship, Tang Yi slowly changed his view of them. The lupus soldiers were weak and did not have any battle tactics to speak of, but they endured hardship, causing Tang Yi to be moved. Tang Yi was expressionless. Very few people knew that this name that did not have any killing intent actually had a profound meaning. This move was the battle tactic that Zhang Zheng was most familiar with, and the number of enemies that fell under this move was uncountable. Crane, who was at the back, saw Ling Su suddenly increase his speed and revealed a helpless look. That fellow had always been like that. The lupus army that lived in the desert, under the harsh environment, made them tenacious like the plants in the desert. Even when he was in Orion constellation, he had never seen a military leader with such a powerful control aura. A hole opened up in the circular formation, and the lupus army that was still charging forward rushed in. Chapter 332. Guangwu stabilized his body and floated down to the ground. Although jumping into the air could use the force of falling, this was a way to bully the weak. It was not a good way to face a strong opponent. When one was in midair, there was no place for one to borrow strength from. When experts exchanged blows, it was usually a very small change in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint. One of the 10 equatorial palace halls, Canis Minor constellation? Crane was surprised and thought, "I wonder who Teacher Bien and you are?" Guangwu felt an astonishing power coming from the blade, causing his palm to heat up, causing the blade to almost fly out of his hands. He groaned, holding onto the blade's hilt tightly. He borrowed the force to suddenly increase his height. "It is said that I am too young and do not have any impression." Crane shook his head. "Sir, this year," he stammered, "could it be that Sagittarius Empress and Crane have some sort of relationship?" An incomparably dazzling silver light exploded in front of him like a galaxy hanging upside down in the sky. Yong Xianzhong was so scared that tears almost flowed out of his eyes. Damn it, if Teacher knew that he had almost killed Crane, who had starved for 5 days. Yong Xianzhong stared blankly at Crane's harmless smile, then quivered and reacted, "Yes, yes, yes. And that's right, what?" Ling Su didn't have it easy either. His opponent's attack in midair had taken advantage of the momentum of the fall, which gave him quite a bit of an advantage. The silver light exploded once more. The cold blade brushed past his throat, causing Ling Su's hair to stand on end. Ling Su's orange pupils had already been aroused by Guangwu's blade. The fighting intent in his chest was boiling. He could not be bothered to talk nonsense and snorted, "I'll kill." He almost cried in his heart. Yong Xianzhong was so scared that his heart was in pain. He shook his head with all his might. "No. Absolutely not. This foolish brother just happened to pass by. Aha, a coincidence. Little Crane doesn't like this old man? Should I go and chop him up?" His heart calmed down. No matter how agile the mechanical beasts were, they could not compare to martial artists. Yong Xian's heart jumped and immediately asked, "Could it be that Crane knows my master?" This what-ifs was also very scary. Crane tilted his head and thought, "When I was 3. Before he finished speaking, Flamingo was like an arrow leaving the bow, rushing towards Guangwu. "A nobody." He spoke incoherently for a while, then slowly calmed down. "Yes, I didn't do anything." Without hesitation, he threw his father-in-law and brother-in-law to the back of his head, and with a face full of smiles, he took out a long wooden table from the silver bottle, and then took out a pile of wine, and carefully filled Crane's cup. The spear tip rapidly enlarged in Guang Wu's eyes. Yong Xianzhong sized up Crane, his eyes revealing a look of admiration. Even though the clothes of the black-robed young man before him were tattered, his demeanor and manners were impeccable. With a single look, it was clear that he was a disciple of a prestigious clan. Guang Wu was enraged. He clenched his teeth. "Brat, you are dead. I'm going to chop you into pieces today." If he knew that he would meet Crane, he would not have stepped into Lupus Constellation even if he was beaten to death. Crane interrupted him and looked innocently at Yong Xianzhong. "Brother Yong, do you have anything to eat?" Their teacher had a deep relationship with the Empress. Their teacher had reminded them more than once that if they encountered any trouble with the Empress subordinates, they must lend them a helping hand. "Teacher Bian is my teacher," Yong Xianzhong said calmly. The other party's demeanor and temperament made him feel extremely comfortable. Crane replied honestly, "I heard that when I was young, Teacher Bien hugged me before, but I do not have any recollection of it." Crane coughed lightly. "Such a beautiful scenery, and with brave warriors fighting, how can there be no wine?" Yong Xianzhong was dumbstruck. Guang Wu's body suddenly froze, his face suddenly flushed red, his originally stiff body suddenly leapt up. The blood blade in his hand was as light as paper, straight for Ling Su's throat. Guang Wu's battle experience was plentiful. The opponent's strength had just dissipated, and had not yet recovered. It was the best opportunity. Everyone knew this logic, but very few people were able to make use of it. Because in such a head-on clash, both parties were in the same situation. But Guang Wu was one of the few martial artists who could make use of such an opportunity, because he had a secret technique of the reverse luck mental cultivation technique. Guang Wu was startled by Ling Su's "I'll kill," and was immediately angered to the point that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. The asshole's meaning, was he implying that he was a nameless person? Guang Wu had been famous for 30 years, had been to countless constellations, had been through hundreds of battles, and had formed rivers of blood. Some people were afraid of him, some wanted to curry favor with him, some wanted to kill him, but no one had ever treated him as a nameless person. But, no matter how fast the chopsticks were, Crane still maintained his elegance. He seemed to have noticed Yong Xianzhong's awkward expression and explained, "I am truly sorry, this little brother has not eaten for 5 days." Yong Xianzhong felt his body heating up. Teacher was someone who did not like to interact with children. How could he hug a child? Could it be that he was purposely lying to me? But he did not dare confirm. What if it was true? In that short period of time, he was drenched in sweat. Guang Wu, who was caught off guard, only felt the silver light in front of him, but he was a ruthless person. Not only did he not feel any fear, instead, he became even more ferocious. He hissed, and the blood aura from his blade became even more intense. The reverse luck could only be maintained to a very small extent. Thus the power produced was also very small, but to the current situation, it was enough. Ling Su's face changed, he groaned, and retreated frantically. If teacher knew that he was going to chop the nephew of the Sagittarius Empress that he had personally hugged, alright, this kind of assumption would cause him to lose the courage to continue living. Before he finished speaking, Flamingo suddenly stomped heavily on the ground, and its speed suddenly increased. "Oh, I am 18 years old this year." Guang Wu's blade that he was determined to kill missed, causing him to be surprised, but he was extremely vigilant. After missing, he did not hesitate to increase the distance. The blood aura on his face disappeared, and he returned to normal. He had just taken it out from the silver Aquarius cabinet and placed it on the table. When Crane threw it in front of him, the energy was like a blade. In the blink of an eye, all of the cooked food became neat and tidy. Crane's expression was focused as he poured the sauce on the food. Then he extended his chopsticks in satisfaction. It was his first time encountering such a situation, and he did not know what to do. Crane's expression became weird. Crane and Yong Xianzhong were in a different situation. "That's what I said." Crane had a harmless smile on his face. "Luckily I met Brother Yong, if not I would have to starve." Brother Yong saved this little brother from the fire and water. Yong Xianzhong was surprised. He had heard of Heavenly Crane constellation before. It was an extremely small constellation and was considered a weak constellation in the southern sky's 42 constellations. How could it nurture such an outstanding talent? The intense collision would cause the originally high-speed true power to suddenly stop, and that was the reason for the stiffness. But Guang Wu's reverse mental cultivation technique was the exact opposite. Since he could not advance, then he would retreat. Yong Xianzhong had the heart to kill himself. He should have thought of it. If not, why would the Empress set such a restriction for no reason? 15 years ago, teacher had only gone out once, and that was to participate in Sagittarius constellation's Empress Ho Yi Tian's birthday. Yong Xianzhong heaved a sigh of relief and immediately said, "To be able to meet little brother, it is my fortune." That terrifying result caused Yong Xianzhong's martial spirit to tremble. The blade in his hand swung upwards. Food. I am Crane, from Heavenly Crane constellation. Such a beautiful scenery. To be able to meet such a hero like Crane, I have no regrets. Or did I underestimate the age? The silver and red light auras interweaved, causing countless broken auras to burst out. It was a beautiful sight. He squinted his eyes, looking at Ling Su who was on the sand dune. He snorted, "Brat, state your name. This old man does not kill nameless people." He and Flamingo were like a ball that was struck by a heavy hammer, flying head first into the sand dune. Under the powerful impact, half of the sand dune immediately exploded, raising up a ring-shaped sand screen that rushed into the sky. Suddenly, he seemed to have realized something. "Brother Yong and this old man, you are not together, right?" Yong Xianzhong's hand that was holding the wine cup froze in mid-air. He did not feel so good. But Crane's gaze was filled with anticipation and yearning. Yong Xianzhong forced a smile. "It is this foolish brother's negligence. How can we not have food to go with the wine? And there is some cooked food." Yong Xianzhong raised his wine cup, his mind already preparing to say something. "Oh, she is my aunt." Crane admitted honestly. Guang Wu was so angry that he laughed and roared, "Die!" Yong Xianzhong calmed down. That was 15 years ago. Wait a minute, 15 years ago. It was as if Yong Xianzhong was struck by lightning. A terrifying guess popped out from his mind. "I will have to trouble brother Yong." Crane's face was filled with gratitude and then said, "We can enjoy ourselves here and watch the battle. It is so interesting." His blade looked extremely slow. The blade body seemed to weigh thousands of kilograms, but the blade body was enveloped in a dense blood aura that seemed to have materialized. The blood aura swallowed and spat, like a demonic squirming fresh blood. The choking smell of blood assaulted his nose. He wiped his perspiration and asked, "I wonder when it will be?" Yong Xianzhong's entire body was drenched in perspiration. Every muscle on his body was stiff. It was because he was scared. Ling Su, who was sprinting, lowered his body, bringing forth a whistling gale, and a cold word floated out, "Idiot." In that moment, Yong Xianzhong was in a daze. There was actually such a dazzling spear aura in the world. He was starting to panic. If this matter were to spread to his teacher's ears, he would be locked up deep in the mountains for 10 years. When he saw the flamingo beneath Tang Tian, he immediately understood the reason why Tang Tian was able to dodge was because of the mechanical beast beneath him. Yong Xianzhong, who was still in a state of shock, his face was pale white. He said with a fawning look, "Don't be anxious, little brother. I still have a lot of raw food. I will roast it for you." The young man with the silver spear in front of him made him somewhat fearful. Inside the fiery red flames, the white robe with golden threads fluttered, the silver hair fluttering. "Next time, you won't be so lucky." Guang Wu laughed, not concealing his killing intent. Crane was too hungry. He had been hungry for 5 days. He had struggled in the Sand Sound Valley, met with danger countless of times, and had long exhausted his rations. That was also why Guang Wu liked to meet force with force. Without saying a word, Yong Xianzhong sold Guang Wu out. But his face did not reveal any contempt, and politely replied, "I am Yong Xianzhong, from Canis Minor Constellation." Yong Xianzhong exclaimed, "My teacher hugged you before?" Bang! The two of them groaned at the same time. Chapter 333. Housefly cow, they are not putting you in their eyes. Sima Xiangshan suddenly said, "Go! Show them what we're made of." Almost at the same time, everyone started moving. There were many ways for a military leader to control the aura, but they all had their own traces. It was just that the brilliant military leaders would hide their traces. Hiding was just hiding. The military leader was the core of the army's control aura, and he was the starting point of all battles. The simple and crude heavy armors in his field of vision rapidly closed in, causing Bing's state of mind to be pulled away. Facing the incoming blade auras and spear tips, he actually did not dodge, allowing them to hit his body. Bang! Everyone took the chance to close the distance between them. And once the efficiency of the opponent's control aura decreased, the traces of the main general would be exposed. But the cold mist swept past the blade auras and spear auras, as though they were dyed with a layer of frost. After flying out for a short distance, they melted like ice. Lightweight mechanical weapons? Ding ding ding. A silver sword suddenly appeared on his right, lightly trembling. The sword aura burst forth, receiving the few spear auras, every sword releasing cold chi. That's right, this type of military leader hated chaotic situations the most. With every chaotic region, the difficulty of his secret control would increase greatly. As long as there were a few chaotic regions, he would be distracted, and the opponent's control aura's efficiency would decrease greatly. It was dead silent, no one bothered about him. He had the seniority. Huang Fuhong lowered both of his palms and suddenly pulled. That's right. That's it. The situation of Bodhisattva constellation was calm. The heavy armor army's most common task was to exterminate bandits, and Huang Fuhong was very experienced in dealing with such a group of 10 people. But in these two waves of attacks, Bing had not found any traces of the opponent. 2 shields formed a wall, appearing in front of him, and 3 spears pierced out from the gaps of the shields. Seeing the opponent rushing towards the army in a mess, without any formation, a cold light flashed past Huang Fuhong's eyes. The 3 martial artists in front of a Maori all retreated 5 to 6 steps before stopping, but the strange thing was, they were like wooden puppets, not moving at all. Ka. The armor on the 3 of them revealed spiderweb cracks, blood trickling down, dyeing the cracks red. The other party's formation was very strict. It could be seen that they were well-trained and had rich combat experience. Huang Fuhong then led the heavy armor army and won a few battles, causing the heavy armor army's name to shake the entire northern sky. Huang Fuhong stared at the people in front of him. His face was covered with frost, and it was hard to tell whether he was happy or angry. The heavy armor army belonged to the northern sky's bovine constellation. He had been in the army for 40 years, and had climbed from a small soldier to his current position. He grinned and charged straight into the array. He raised his blade and walked at the front with killing intent, and with a swoosh, he pointed at the army with his blade. Don't even think about getting lucky. The lively martial man will definitely kill all of you. The sword aura that looked like shattered ice mist suddenly exploded, and an extremely cold wave of chi spread out in all directions. As long as they found the commander, victory would be within reach. The other side's general was not strong, but this was their strength. He suddenly took a step forward, twisting his waist and brandishing his saber. A Maori's expression was ferocious, and all the muscles on his body bulged. All the martial artists in front of a Maori were overwhelmed with shock, and all raised their weapons to protect their chests. Bing's understanding of mechanical weapons was unparalleled, and with one look, he understood the opponent's thoughts. The rest understood, and scattered in all directions. He did not move, his expression calm. The soldiers knew what to do. A Maori, you have great strength, the most important arrowhead position has to belong to you. Young man, I'm relying on you. Compared to ordinary mechanical weapons, it was much lighter, and could provide a decent defense. It could be seen that the opponent's mechanical engineer had some ideas, but his attainments in mechanical techniques were lacking compared to Sai Lei. But Master somehow managed to convince Yijio, and insisted on joining in. The heavy armor army had cost a lot, but in his eyes, it was still far from being outstanding. Later on, Master was already unwilling to invest in the army. Bovine Constellation was also very peaceful, and the situation of the army was not as optimistic as others thought. Bing's heart jumped. He immediately understood the opponent's intention and anxiously said, "Rush into the crowd. I can find the opponent's general." Until Huang Fuhong took over, he found a mechanical engineer to solve all the small problems and then formulated special tactics for them, and the heavy armor army started to shine with vitality. Pay attention to any abnormal fellows. We need to find the opponent's general. He is hiding in the crowd. As long as we can find him, we will win. Bing sized up the army in front of him. It was the strongest army he had ever seen. The opponent's formation was strict. 500 men stood solemnly, without any noise. But, seeing that there were only 5 of them, Huang Fuhong calmed down. Suddenly, Bing's voice drilled into his ears. The frantic yellow blade aura was like a brush painting. Even a Maori's tall and sturdy figure was enveloped in the blade aura. Such a strong physique, such a ferocious person. Just at that moment, countless spear auras and blade auras rained down, shooting towards them from all directions. Bing did not use his eyes. He was carefully observing the trajectory of the blade and spear auras. Everyone scatter and attack. He suddenly felt as though he was in the battlefield 10,000 years ago. Sky Tiger's wings spread out. In the midst of flying, its gigantic body arched up. Bing instinctively controlled Sky Tiger, only to see the martial artists at the front of the formation shrinking inwards. A Maori was getting excited from killing and directly tore off the clothes on his upper body. Only then did everyone see his body as though it was cast from copper, with a layer of metallic luster. Where exactly is that fellow? Bing guided patiently, as though he was trying to abduct a child. Heh, Southern Cross Army, charge. Let me do it. Han Bingning's sword auras were extremely unique, as though countless of tiny ice grains were formed into a mist. After absorbing the heart of the South Pole, every move she made was filled with cold chi, and her sword technique was coincidentally glacier fields, which could unleash the coldness in her body to the maximum. And as her understanding of cold deepened, her understanding of glacier fields also deepened. A steel ball with a low whistling sound smashed onto a few spear auras, and the spear auras immediately crumbled. The reason why he was against it was because the opponent had a powerful spirit military leader. The breathtaking control aura caused Huang Fuhong to suck in a breath of cold air. Huang Fuhong had always been confident in himself, but seeing the terrifying control aura, he knew that he would never be able to do it. The heavy armor army against the spirit military leader, Huang Fuhong did not have any confidence. A Maori's eyes immediately became bloodshot. He howled out, taking big strides and rushing towards the army in front of him. Suddenly, the martial artists around a Maori retreated like a tide, forming an empty space. Power. His strength was 3 times stronger than before. The power of his blood meridians, the 50% completion rate of the ancient bear race blood meridians, caused his strength to soar. He was originally born with divine strength, and with his strength increased by 3 times, it was extremely terrifying. The wild earth blade in his hands was extremely powerful. In truth, he did not approve of the operation. He could faintly feel that the water was very deep. The heavy armor army had spent countless of his efforts to create it, and even though it was ranked in the 19 continents, he knew his own limits. A Maori was about to rush forward, when 7 or 8 spear auras, like spirits, flew straight for his chest and ribs. Bronze skin, iron bones. The 2 martial artists only felt a sharp pain in their wrists. The extremely savage power transmitted over, as though they were struck by a charging star spirit beast, and their bodies immediately flew out. The martial artists behind the 2 of them were caught off guard, and in a moment, 4 or 5 of them were knocked down. Bing did not have much hope for a Maori's intelligence, but since a Maori was most proficient in destruction, then let him do it. No matter how orderly the formation was, to be struck by such an unreasonable fellow, there would always be flaws. A brilliant fellow. Bing had not found any traces of the opponent's general. Many generals like to hide themselves in the troops, especially those military generals who were not strong enough to avoid being targeted by the strong martial artists of the enemy. Mixing themselves in the crowd was a good idea. He muttered softly, his eyes flashing with a cold light. In a moment, a trap was formed, without any blind spots. Amauri's face revealed an excited look. Pung pung ping, he patted his chest loudly. Uncle, as expected, your foresight is good. Relax. This lively martial man will definitely kill them till their blood flows like a river. Amauri was calm and fearless. He did not care about any changes. He was like a wild beast, rushing straight into the formation. Bing's voice came out from Sky Tiger. Sky Tiger was like a blue lightning, rushing towards the opponent's troops. But those blade auras and spear auras that could penetrate through steel only left white scars on Amauri's body. Amauri was not injured at all, and took the chance to kill 2 people. Among the Northern Sky's 19 continents, Boodi's constellation was not considered a strong constellation. The only thing they could bring out was the expensive heavy armor army. This army originated from the master who was passionate about mechanical techniques, and the master was full of enthusiasm and ambition to build a mechanical army. But after that, the miserable state of the army caused the master to quickly lose interest. Their fighting strength was low, they had all sorts of problems, it was a mess. The cold voice carried a trace of coldness. Han Bingning flicked his wrist, the silver dragon sword made a circle, and a circular sword aura exploded out. Huang Fu Hong's eyes constricted. The opponent's ferocity had exceeded his expectations. Upon meeting them, he had already lost a few people. Other than Crane and Yong Xianzhong's rhythm that was filled with strangeness, the other battles were extremely intense. Amauri's spirit was roused. He bellowed, "Yeah, watch my blade." Amauri bellowed. The blade in his hand that was enveloped in a yellow aura suddenly swung upwards. The 3 spears were struck by a heavy hammer, flying up high, and Amauri took the chance to smash into the 2 shields in front of him. The 3 of them were no longer breathing. Bing's mind moved quickly. What kind of situation did these military generals hate the most? Gotcha. All of them were dressed in heavy armor, which was extremely unique. To describe it as armor, it was much thicker than normal armor, and had many supporting mechanisms. It looked like a simple and crude mechanical weapon, but it was much lighter than a mechanical weapon. He almost blurted out chaos. Sima Xiangshan followed behind everyone like a ghost. Amauri and Han Bingning's display of power made him extremely surprised. Chapter 334. Ling Su is so strong. An angry roar came out from above. Jing Hao, who had lost control of his body, clenched his teeth and raised the sword in his hand. Tang Tian, who was trembling, instinctively used his last bit of strength to hold onto the Saint's Sword Ocean Prison, as though it was his life-saving straw. Yi Zhaogu floated in the air, his face filled with anger. Bing's words resonated in his mind, and Tang Tian's eyes lost focus. Almost instinctively, Tang Tian crossed his swords. Sky Tiger, who was advancing at high speed, suddenly became a blur, transforming into a cross of green and red, and plunged into the enemy. Tang Tian clenched his teeth, his face sinister. His pupils suddenly constricted. Tang Tian's words stopped. He resolutely used the King Peacock Eye's ice blue heart and the red eye's void dark flames to collide. The incomparably strong power stimulated his body. His Dantian pool became a blue and black fire pool. 1 blue and 1 black flames spewed out from the Dantian pool and drilled into his meridians. Suicide room. An unprecedented panic and despair surged in his mind. His face was as white as paper, his body trembling. Heh, you desire victory so much? You're not even afraid of death? Think. Sky Tiger's body was completely extended, like a perfectly straight spear. The Tang Tian in front of him was similarly covered in injuries, similarly gasping for breath, similarly wielding the Saint's Sword Ocean Prison. The air reverberated with the echo. A terrifying power surged out from the sword body. Jing Hao's body that was flying backwards twisted in the air and was fiercely smashed into the ground. He suddenly raised the iron sword in his hand that was covered in scars and aimed at the location where Jing Hao was falling and slashed down. The silver light below grew higher and higher, the air hummed, and a figure enveloped in silver light appeared in Yi Zhaoji's eyes. Everyone agreed to become strong together. Wait a minute. Suddenly, The corners of his mouth curled up into a strange, cold smile. Crane is also very powerful. Everyone agreed to go to Southern Cross Constellation together. The other soldiers' eyes were red, close combat-type martial artists, all fought to be the first to pounce forward. And all the long-range martial artists, completely disregarding the consumption of true power, attacked Sky Tiger like rain. Die, 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 die. No matter what. Everyone is so nice. Everyone is so nice. We promised. We promised. While he was shocked, his reaction was also extremely fast. How helpless. It's not in my interest for you to die. Since that's the case, then come. Tang Tian was full of confidence at the beginning, but now he was at a loss. He tried everything he could think of, but no matter what he thought of, the other party could think of it too. Bing, who was piloting Sky Tiger, the scenery on both sides of his field of vision was pulled into countless multicolored threads. Sky Tiger's speed had already reached its maximum. The wings on its back flapped rapidly as it swept through the air. The sand curtain rose hundreds of feet high, and its momentum was extremely terrifying. What am I thinking? Why would he use the void dark flames and ice blue heart? Not others? Other than the fact that the two are polar opposites, there must be a deeper reason. If you miss this battle, Ling Su will die, Crane will die, Amauri will die, Han Bingning will die, Liang Qiu will die, Sima Xiangshan will die, Huama Er will die, the entire Lupus tribe will be flattened, no one will survive, everyone will die. Bing's poker face did not change, he was as calm as usual. Sky Tiger, who was half bent over, suddenly opened up his arms like wings. Without any light aura, the sand dune on the ground suddenly exploded. You only have this bit of strength? Yi Zhaoji's face was sinister, he bellowed, I have waited for you for so long, and you only have this bit of strength? You disappoint me. Useless trash, you deserve to die. The armors of the heavy armor army were like paper, they were sliced into pieces, broken limbs and fresh blood splattered everywhere. Bang! Tang Tian's body suddenly erupted with a dazzling light aura. The light aura was so intense that even the space in the suicide room was trembling. All trash deserve to die. Suddenly, a silver light aura lit up the entire sky of sand, the indistinct sound of a sword lingering in the air. Something seemed to blossom in his eyes. Ping! Tang Tian, opposite him, looked at him in a daze. Tang Tian felt as though he was struck by lightning, his mind was blank, his limbs ice cold. According to Bing's estimation, he had at most 18 days. The iron sword sliced through the air, bringing with it a low whistling sound that caused people's scalps to go numb. The wind was like a song, the war flag was waving, the smoke was everywhere. 90 days. The air around Yi Zhaogu was trembling intensely. He felt as though there was something in his mind. The blue and black cross suddenly burst open. Yi Zhaogu was like a madman, the iron sword in his hand was extremely heavy, but extremely fast. Tang Tian could no longer remember how many times he had fought with him. Every battle, they were evenly matched, every battle was like a swamp, difficult to the point of suffocation. You are truly similar to me, but you do not have a partner who can die for them. Tang Tian felt as though he was pulled into a dark void and immediately lost consciousness. It was not easy for everyone to come this far. It was not easy. Everyone was so good, so trustworthy, everyone was risking their lives, everyone was fighting because of him, they were all fighting, all for him. The surrounding darkness retreated like a tide. 90 days inside was equivalent to 18 days outside. Everyone will die. No. The martial artists at the front raised their shields, layers upon layers of defense. In the blink of an eye, the light aura converged at an astonishing speed, transforming into a light shield wall. Tang Tian said to himself, while using his left hand to take out the safe and sound sword, his right hand holding onto the Saint Sword Ocean Prison, his gaze staring intently at Tang Tian. Tang Tian felt his imposing manner and revealed a cautious expression. And Tang Yi Huama Er. I have always been unable to find a reason to defeat you, but now I have found it. Tang Tian's entire body was covered in injuries. Gasping for breath, he held onto the Saint Sword Ocean prison. Yi Zhaogu was not surprised, but happy. His face became even more sinister. He laughed recklessly. Ha! Jing Hao, let me see your true abilities. Where are your unique martial techniques? I have been waiting impatiently for a long time. Tang Tian used all of his strength, wanting to make himself stronger. His improvement was astonishing. He even found a way to control the void dark flames and summon the Saint Sword Ocean prison. No, I don't want everyone to die. No, definitely not. And Bing, he always has so many ideas. He is a master tactician. Jing Hao and Yi Zhaoji's battle was extremely intense. The two of them were like two shadows, clashing in the air and separating, but every time they clashed, it would produce an astonishing ripple in the air. The blade-like air currents would engulf everything. CSISI. Did he just take a nap? His eyes were filled with blood veins. He licked his lips. It was crazy and cold. Jing Hao, I will not kill you. I will slaughter this planet cleanly. You must be angry, be angry. Be angry. Hatred will let you be reborn, ha. That way, you will be strong enough to make me excited. We agreed. Bang. Just as the green-red cross scythe lit up, Huang Fuhong's face changed. The blue mechanical weapon was his focus. The heavy armor army was half a mechanical army, and as the commander, Huang Fuhong's understanding of mechanical techniques far exceeded that of ordinary martial artists, and with one look, he could tell that the blue mechanical weapon was not ordinary. Sky Tiger was surrounded. The enraged Yi Zhaogu waved his sword, and the man and the sword suddenly disappeared in the air. Everyone will die. Everyone will die. Then come. 18 days. How can I win? What? Buzz. But with the same willpower and conviction, Tang Tian, his improvement was equally astonishing. Tang Tian actually summoned the Saint Sword Ocean prison. The orderly formation was plowed with a deep bloody scar. Green-red cross scythe. Until now, he had not thought of how to win. He tried all sorts of methods, such as successfully activating the red eyes and summoning the Saint Sword Ocean prison. But the opponent actually activated the red eyes and also summoned the Saint Sword Ocean prison. We agreed to fight side by side. Haha. Jing Hao, is that all you have? Huang Fuhong's eyes were bloodshot. All of the soldiers had followed him for a long time, and in the blink of an eye, more than 10 of them had fallen. After so many battles, the heavy armor army had never suffered such heavy losses. Tang Tian raised his head, he fiercely wiped his eyes, and stopped crying. But when the green-red cross scythe appeared, it shocked him. Jing Hao, who was enveloped in the silver light, had blood at the corner of his mouth, but his expression was solemn, and he raised the sword in his hand. And a Maori and the rest. The sand dune below exploded. Tang Tian retreated his right leg, lowering his waist into a horse stance, his body slightly crouching. Tang Tian's body trembled, his entire body was suddenly bone-piercing cold, he quivered, and suddenly woke up. It was so clear and crisp like glass breaking, the light shield wall exploded into pieces, countless of fine broken auras flew out like snowflakes. The green-red cross scythe fiercely struck the light shield wall. The friction in the air sounded out, the intense temperature caused Sky Tiger's claws to become red, as though they were just taken out from a furnace. The red and high temperature quickly spread along Sky Tiger's arms. Sacrificing your life for others, such a foolish thought. This world is selfish, benefits are the most important, to die for them, what can you gain? Old Man Fei's words, Tang Tian remembered them in his heart. Jing Hao's pupils constricted, he subconsciously used his sword to block in front of his chest. Although Ling Su had an explosive temper, but whenever there was a battle, he would always be the first to rush up. Crane was always easy to talk to, willing to do anything, and everyone's trivial matters were all settled by him. Although Uncle Bing liked to brag, but he had many methods. A Maori was slightly stupid and easy to trick. Han Bingning did not like to talk, but he was a kind person. Liang Qiu was the peacemaker, and was steady, so he would be at ease handing everything over to him. Sima Xiangshan made himself sound weird, but in fact his mouth was a little venomous. The safe and sound sword in his left hand quietly released a blue ice flame, while the ocean prison in his right hand released a black flame. And I have it. Tang Tian raised his head to look at the sky. It displayed he had already been here for 90 days. Tang Tian muttered to himself, but it was a cold and unfamiliar voice. The green-red cross fiercely pierced into the group. But why am I so sad? A group of shadows struck onto the sword, causing Jing Hao to feel a sweetness in his throat. Like a rubber ball that was struck by a wooden pole, he flew out. His thoughts flew, his fighting intent blazing. No, Bing must be exaggerating. Tang Tian could not hold it in anymore, tears flowed out of his eyes, and he bawled out loud. Chapter 335. Not good. In the enemy's formation, Tang Yi rode his horse slowly, as though there was no one around him, but none of the surrounding martial artists dared to move forward and dodged to the sides like a tide. Turf, turf, turf. The sword trembled violently at an astonishing frequency, and countless dense air ripples appeared around the sword. A crack the size of a fingernail cracked on the sword, and as soon as it left the sword, it shattered into a puff of fine dust. Tang Yi borrowed the power of the blade to return to his horse's back. His face was gloomy, but he raised his blade and shouted, "Fight! 07 Army Camp. The path I am walking will forever be my own path." One after another, silver light regiments the size of rice grains emerged from the silver light around Jing Hao's body and slowly rose into the air. The silver auras were like stars, floating above Jing Hao's head. Bang! It's as fast as light. Jing Hao's last thought, his eyes lost focus. Yaya was so angry that he jumped up and down, but his eyes suddenly lit up. He jumped onto the bronze goat's back and pulled the bronze tortoise and squirrel up. The bronze goat sprinted forward. The mechanical beasts that were also charging forward followed suit. In the blink of an eye, an army of mechanical beasts marched forward along the passageway. If I can't even take down a bunch of scoundrels, wouldn't I be letting down my name of being unique? The sword in his hand gently pierced forward. The suicide room suddenly exploded, causing dust to fill the sky, and a figure wielding a sword with both hands slowly walked out from the dust. He was like a wooden stake, falling head first onto the sand dune. The surging silver light spewed out from the tip of the sword straight into the sky. Jing Hao held his sword with both hands. Another idiot that fell for it. I actually did not dodge. With my speed, how can I not dodge? He stopped laughing and looked at Jing Hao with bright eyes. Dong dong dong. Formation. Quickly formation. Tang Yi raised the zanbato in his hand. The pitch-black zanbato was like a war flag, the most eye-catching symbol of the battlefield. The Lupa soldiers quickly gathered behind Tang Yi, all of them trembling with excitement, their fighting intent boiling. The sword slashed down. Without thinking, he anxiously rolled backwards. In his mind, there was only one thought. Faster. Hurry up. Hurry up. Everyone, we must hold on. A spot of silver light blossomed from the tip of Jing Hao's sword, and a perfectly straight silver light beam shot out. Yi Zhaoji's pupils suddenly widened, a strong sense of danger arose in his heart. The wounds on his body healed at an astonishing speed. When he walked in front of Jing Hao, his body was as good as new, but his face looked a little pale. The silver light beam exploded into pieces. Jing Hao let out a muffled groan and quickly retreated. Peng, peng, peng. Every step was as heavy as 1,000 caddies. The sand dune beneath his feet exploded, sending sand flying everywhere. A silver beam that was several times thicker than before shot out from the tip of the sword. Zhang Zheng's expression froze. This is Yi Zhaogu, whose wound had been torn open, was extremely excited. Halfway through his flight, he forcefully turned around and swung the iron sword in his hand once again. Zhang Zheng's gaze was fixed on Tang Yi, who was leaping high up in the air. Suddenly, his face revealed a trace of pride. He knew that he was not strong enough and could easily become the main target of the enemy, so he specially designed a few traps. Zhang Zheng could not contain the joy on his face. This was a tried and tested trick. The corner of Jing Hao's mouth that was overflowing with blood gently raised. Jing Hao, you really did not make me wait in vain. Jing Hao's mouth was bleeding, his clothes were torn, and he shouted angrily, "Sword light screen. No matter how strong he is only him. No matter how weak I am still me. Too scary." The two forces were both extremely strong. When they collided with each other, the power that was stirred up was extremely shocking. Yi Zhaogu, who was closer, did not have time to dodge. His entire body was directly sent flying by the wave of air, and flew tens of feet away. Yaya, who was in the distance, stopped. It waved its little hands and squeaked at Tang Tian's back. But how could Tang Tian care about it? He did not dare to stop and ran with all his might. Jing Hao, who was enveloped in the silver aura, had a solemn expression. Facing the crazy Yi Zhaogu, he was not the least bit afraid. He was not a person who liked to talk big, nor was he a person who liked to speak his mind. But he would quietly sharpen his sword techniques, and he would quietly persevere in his beliefs. His body suddenly exploded with countless of blood flowers. The 10 strikes of the invisible sword qi had shaken up his entire body to over 100 small wounds. Just that this sword, Jing Hao had used all his strength. All the muscles in his body were as taut as steel, and no blood flowed out. Now that he had loosened his strength, the wounds immediately exploded with blood. Every time the sword light and the invisible sword qi clashed, Jing Hao's hands that were holding the sword would tremble. His eyes were wide open in anger. Using all his strength, he forcefully slashed down. The invisible sword qi once again clashed with Jing Hao's sword light screen. Impossible! Tang Tian clenched his teeth. His heart was burning with anxiety. Without caring about anything else, he activated the true power in his body, leaping around the bronze forest. All of the Lupus soldiers were shocked by Tang Yi's berserk blade. They felt their blood boiling, as though there was something in their chest that they had to spit out. They could not help but raise up the curved blades in their hands, and shouted, "Fight!" Even in the past, when he faced Yi Zhaogu, he had never felt fear or respect. He was like a boulder in the mountains, silent, but he had his own world. The shout was like thunder, and the sound reverberated. On the horse's back, Tang Yi's body was perfectly straight. His face was as calm as water as he looked at the enemies in front of him who were trying their best to form a formation. Chisel formation assault. Jing Hao gasped for breath, perspiration dripping down his body. His palms that were holding onto the sword were trembling uncontrollably. His mind was blank, all the true power in his body was sucked dry by the sword. He did not even have the strength to move a finger. Yi Zhaogu muttered to himself. "Haha, again." The Swallowtail camp's faces changed. Did we win? On the goat's back, Yaya had his hands on his waist. His face was majestic and powerful, as though he was in charge of the country. Break! He did not care at all. He was extremely excited and fiercely dived down. Bang! The 200 men shouted in unison, surging forward like a raging wave. He bent down and picked up the unconscious Jing Hao, his mouth revealing a crazy and cold smile. "Faster! Hurry up! Hurry up! I want you to see how I kill them all." As expected of a unique martial technique, it was too exciting. Tang Tian's entire body was enveloped in a faint transparent flame. His eyes were ice cold and emotionless. Bang! The silver light pierced through his chest, leaving a thumb-sized hole. In Jing Hao's calm eyes, his heroism and pride surged. He raised the sword in his hand, and the silver light around his body suddenly flew out countless of fine silver threads, pouncing towards the sword in his hand. His speed was as fast as lightning. Even his afterimages were blurry, like a gust of wind. I did not wait for nothing. The slashing light sword transformed into a vast silver light screen, enveloping Yi Zhaogu inside. The dazzling silver light in front of Jing Hao raised countless sand and dust, covering the sky. Kill! Yi Zhaogu opened his eyes wide, his face filled with disbelief. Zhang Zheng roared, "Kill!" He saw the passage not far away, and without hesitation, he rushed in. Just at that moment, suddenly, a dazzling light aura blossomed from the whirlpool. The light screen touched the ground. Sword light beam. Hundreds of light auras rose to the sky and converged above his head. In the blink of an eye, a whirlpool formed from hundreds of blade and spear auras was formed. The air was constantly being sliced and dismembered, causing a strong gust of wind to blow. Zhang Zhang only felt that his vision was filled with white. He could not see anything. He was overwhelmed with shock. The steel sword in Yi Zhaoji's hand could not withstand the pressure and broke in half. His body was also cut by the sharp air currents, causing him to be covered in wounds, and blood flowed out. The sand and dust settled, and in front of Jing Hao, there was a straight and deep ravine that extended into the distance, with no end in sight. Swoosh, Tang Tian disappeared. Yi Zhaoji's face changed. He instinctively dodged to the right, but the light was faster than he thought. Blood blossomed from his chest, and the blood flew in the air, as though time had slowed down. At the same time, Jing Hao thrusted his sword out. In his calm and dignified eyes, there was a deep sense of pride. Ha ha! Perspiration flowed down his face and was flung behind him, but he did not bother to wipe it off. Everyone's scimitar lit up with light auras. If one were to look down from the sky, they would realize that all the light auras converged into one, enveloping the charging Lupus army like a sharp chisel. When the light auras dissipated, Zhang Zhang, whose face was covered in mud, looked at the 15 wide crater in front of him. His face was ashen, and his entire body trembled. Bang! Yi Zhaogu raised the steel sword that was covered in scars, and raised it above his head. The silver aura above his head was like a magnet attracted to the sword in his hand, dragging out rays of bright silver auras, flying towards the sword in his hand. The light humming was extremely soft, as countless of silver auras entered the sword body. Buzz! They roared in unison. The 200 Lupus army seemed to be pulled by an invisible thread, and moved at the same time. Bang! Facing Yi Zhaogu, who was diving down, he slashed out. The silver light was much faster than Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi, and when the formless sword qi flew out for a few meters, it was struck by the silver sword light. Pa pa pa! Tang Yi's momentum was extremely fast, and facing the sudden appearance of the vortex, he was unable to react in time. The flying mud hit his body. The force was extremely strong, causing him to tremble in pain. A stern look flashed past his eyes. His closed eyes suddenly opened wide, releasing a biting cold aura. He squeezed the horse's abdomen and bellowed, "Kill!" The sword in his hand was only left with the sword hilt. The surging power surged unceasingly in Tang Tian's body, the wind concealment steps unleashed to its maximum. A figure covered in blood struggled out of the several-kilometer-long trench. It was Yi Zhaogu. He looked extremely miserable, his entire body covered in blood and sand. The most shocking wound was from his left shoulder to the right side of his abdomen. It was as though his abdomen had been split open, with blood flowing everywhere. Yi Zhaogu moved towards Jing Hao step by step. His face did not have any signs of pain, but instead had an indescribable joy. "A pity, it's not enough, your hatred is not strong enough, that way you can become stronger, that way I can have an even stronger opponent." If he had his own goal, then he would achieve it. Words would always be useless. Borrowing the momentum of diving down, he raised the broken sword in his hand, and in one breath, he released 10 swords. Satisfying. Yi Zhaogu laughed out loud, blood spurting out from his chest, soaking his clothes, but he did not seem to feel it. His messy hair that was as hard as steel fluttered in the air, as though he had met with something extremely happy. Zhang Zhang's panicked voice came out from the enemy formation. The enemy formation continued to retreat, and once again widen the distance. Chapter 336. Everyone was becoming stronger. After a few attempts, Flamingo gradually understood Ling Su's intentions, and the true power in its body suddenly increased. Ling Su suspected that it was possible that his teacher's inheritance was not complete. The difference between the pointed sea spear and the Ares spear of stars was just a few minute changes, but it evolved into 2 completely different spear techniques. The power contained in the tip of the spear was terrifying. Really, really strong. How could such a powerful battle technique be defeated? His teacher had passed away early, and Ling Su's pointed sea spears were mostly self-explored. He liked the feeling of riding fiery bird and charging to his heart's content, but he did not ponder over the mysteries within. The melodious singing never stopped for a moment in the nightmare of the Hercules. That blurry gray figure, that overwhelming spear intent, caused his soul to tremble. However, Ling Su caressed the silver spear in his hand. His fiery orange eyes were filled with indescribable determination. Furthermore, even though he was tempering his spear techniques in the martial immortal's nightmare, it was, after all, an existence akin to a dream and not reality. Ling Su touched the silver spear. Although it felt familiar, it was still different from the dream. After a long period of bitter training in spear techniques, his comprehension of the silver frost mount's pointed sea spears, the Ares spear of stars, was extremely fast. Gradually, Ling Su could feel the profoundness of the Ares spear of stars. But after suppressing him for so many days, even if he knew that the opponent was a legendary silver frost mount, Ling Su's heart was still suppressing the evil fire. He had a fiery temper and would start a fight at the slightest displeasure. This evil fire was suppressed in his heart, but the other party was too strong, so he could only suppress it and ferment it. The raging flames gradually dimmed, and the figure of the white-clothed youth appeared in front of him. The youth's face showed signs of fatigue, and even the hand holding the spear was trembling slightly. It was obvious that the consumption of that spear was quite shocking. Facing an enemy whose true power was weaker than his, the best way was to meet force with force, abandoning all those fancy moves, and using force to win. Crane subconsciously clenched the crane sword in his hand tightly, his heart surging with emotions. Bang! Guang Wu wanted to meet force with force, which was exactly what he wanted. He turned his face and looked at the fire that had stopped. He was stunned speechless. This charge was unprecedentedly powerful. He did not feel the slightest bit of heat from Fiery Bird's flames. Instead, he felt warm and comfortable. The most important thing was that he and Fiery Bird's aura had merged into one. He had failed several times just now, but he was able to grasp some clues. Flamingo was a mechanical beast, but mechanical beasts also consumed energy from star rocks, and had no intrinsic difference from the true power in his body. The blood saber exploded into pieces in front of Ling Su. Without thinking, Ling Su flicked his wrist. In the beginning, his spear technique was still a little shaky. This was his life-saving trump card, Blood Thunder Sound. Teacher, can you see it? Little Su has already become stronger than before. Yong Xianzhong, who was leisurely watching the battle, suddenly stood up. He looked at Guang Wu in disbelief. He was so shocked that he could not speak. The scene just now was too shocking. The blood saber's blood aura was even more astonishing, as though countless of blood was wrapping around the saber's body. It was as though he had just come out from the Azura battlefield. Even the surrounding light auras were attracted by the dark red blood aura, becoming as dark as ink, adding to the strange coldness. But Guang Wu wanted to use force to win, giving him time to rest. After exchanging over 20 moves, Ling Su felt more and more familiar with it. The concept of the Ares Spear of Stars was also gradually being displayed. The spear's power became heavier and heavier. Bang! Just at this time, Ling Su arrived. The crux of man and mount becoming one was to allow the true power of both parties to resonate with each other. Ling Su felt his chest becoming stuffy, the demonic sound piercing his brain. All the blood in his body instantly froze. He was overwhelmed with shock. What martial technique was that? Just at that moment, the sheep horn wind bells on the silver spear suddenly rang. The sound was so soft that it could not be heard, but when it landed in Ling Su's ears, it was like thunder. He only felt his head buzzing, his body relaxed, and the strange cold restrictions suddenly disappeared. Silver Frost Mount, his inner demon, was actually the Silver Frost Mount. His eyes flashed with a faint dark red light aura. It was cold and terrifying. He clenched his teeth, holding a ball of blood in his mouth. He was ready to attack. The dream world in the Hercules nightmare was like a lifetime ago. The weight of his inner demon far exceeded that of ordinary people, thus the battles in the Hercules nightmare were extremely intense. Ling Su, who was infatuated with the new spear technique, greedily and crazily absorbed everything. The spear tip that was soaked in silver liquid accurately pierced Guang Wu's blood blade. This fellow, what kind of freak is he? Is this the Silver Frost Mount's battle technique? He could not remember how many battles he had fought, but in the dream world he fought tirelessly imitating and learning the Ares Spear of Stars. Ling Su's heart was wild with joy, success. If he had any thoughts of retreating, he would only die on the spot. Facing him head-on, seeking life in the midst of death, only then would there be a chance of survival. He had killed countless of people, although he was afraid of Ling Su's might, but in that moment, he was able to make a decision. The surging flames were like lightning. Inside the surging red flames, a cold aura blossomed. Ling Su stared at Guang Wu, his heart feeling extremely comfortable. From the start, he was suppressed in the Hercules nightmare. Until the end, he did not win against the Silver Frost Mount, and for some reason, he was able to retreat from the dream world. Guang Wu roared, the true power in his body surged, his hair disheveled, as though he was crazy, the clothes on his body swelled up, the blood aura around his body suddenly became dense, like a dark red blood. The experienced Guang Wu began to fight without hesitation. Guang Wu was like a puppet, maintaining his slashing posture, not moving an inch. Ling Su instinctively thrusted his spear out. That was Guang Wu. Guang Wu stared at the white-robed young man on Flamingo's back in fear. Yongxian Central did not know what to do. Who is this fellow? What spear technique is that? Guang Wu's head exploded into pieces without any warning. The headless corpse fell down like a wooden stake. Bang! His pointed sea spear was continuous and one with quantity. But the Ares Spear of Stars was completely different. It emphasized on simplifying. The spear aura was like a star. Every spear was extremely heavy. Borrowing the momentum of the mount, the spear power became even more astonishing. At the start of the battle with the Silver Frost Mount, as long as Ling Su touched the tip of the Silver Frost Mount spear, he would immediately fly out. I actually really killed this old fellow. Flamingo was also extremely excited. In the midst of its assault, it suddenly cried out, and its speed increased. Both parties continuously exchanged over 20 moves, but Ling Su seemed to be fine, without any signs of fatigue. At the start, Guang Wu felt that Ling Su's strength was not bad, but he was still full of confidence, thinking that he could suppress him. Especially since Ling Su's true power was not as vigorous as his, Guang Wu saw it as a weakness. Flamingo's red flames suddenly leaped onto Ling Su's body, enveloping Ling Su completely. One man and one mount, transformed into a regiment of flames, their might exploding. Who knew Ling Su was actually so strong? From being inexperienced to being familiar, clashing head-on with head-on allowed him to release the evil fire in his heart that had been suppressed for a long time. At this time, he had comprehended the unity of man and mount. Regardless of whether it was his essence, chi, or spirit, all of them rose to an unprecedented peak. Guang Wu's sinister face and the dense blood blade enlarged in his eyes. He had finally walked out of the bitter battle. He heaved a sigh of relief, and was also excited. Guang Wu threw away all the distracting thoughts, suddenly spitting out the blood in his mouth, and shouted, "Kill!" Ling Su stopped. He turned his body, his heart was filled with excitement and a trace of disbelief. No wonder Guang Wu was bewildered. On his blood blade, there were a few fine silver scars. No matter how he instigated his true power, he was unable to remove them. What exactly is this? Guang Wu's face changed. He only felt a regiment of extremely intense raging flames, suddenly rushing towards him. The air in front of him became scorching hot. The bone-piercing killing intent filled every strand of air that was so hot that it was about to combust. The warning in his heart was unprecedentedly intense. He knew that it was time to fight with his life on the line. The opponent's aura was too strong, to the point that his state of mind was shaken. Ling Su no longer had the strength to continue fighting. After a few seconds, a drop of blood seeped out from his forehead. Is this the Ares Spear of Stars? Yong Xianzhong was a person who was used to big scenes, although his heart was overwhelmed with shock, but his face remained calm. Blazing silver spear. His silver hair fluttered. Ling Su's face was filled with fighting intent. This type of assault was his favorite method of attack. In the martial immortal nightmare, he had learnt an extremely practical technique, and that was the unity of man and mount. But after 20 moves, Ling Su's qi channels did not have any signs of drying up. Instead, he became more and more courageous, his spear power becoming heavier and heavier. Crane's eyes that were as calm as water flashed a trace of excitement and fighting intent. His heart was extremely excited. The true power in his body was not left. Although the spear was extremely powerful, it had squeezed out all the energy in his body, but he did not feel the slightest bit of fatigue. His entire being was immersed in the excitement and joy. It was the first time Ling Su was truly using it. Just like that. Ling Su was extremely excited. This feeling was truly too good. The silver spear is like snow, untainted by the clouds. The sound of the sheep horn bell, the cool breeze does not carry it. The sun shines but no shadow. The spear is straight. The vast heart guards my stars. Crane was also extremely surprised. He naturally believed in Ling Su, but he did not expect Ling Su to be able to defeat Guangwu, and he was even prepared to help. The silver frost mounts had shown him what was called the unity of man and mount. A regiment of flames stepped on the sand, bringing forth a fiery red trace in the air. Like the wind, it brushed past Guangwu's shoulder. As expected of the inheritor of the silver frost mounts. In truth, he did not understand, why would the demon in his heart be the silver frost mounts? He had initially thought that the demon in his heart would be the traitor. But, in the martial immortal nightmare, he did not have much time to think. It was as though he was in a sea of lava, and had a feeling that he had nowhere to hide. Yong Xianzhong did not have the slightest bit of contempt. His ranking was not far from Guangwu. If Guangwu could not block the assault, could he block it? But the silver frost mounts had shown him the realm of man and mount as one. It opened his eyes, and he suddenly realized, so that was how a mount was used. Guangwu's sinister face suddenly became filled with fear and disbelief. Sitting on the back of Flamingo that was running at high speed, Ling Su's vision kept on shaking, but everything around him became extremely clear, as though everything was under his control. Chapter 337. Killing such an enemy was not something to be happy about. Just at that moment, Yi Zhaoji's maniacal laughter came out from the sky. All of you go and die. Perspiration flowed down his face. His entire body was covered with injuries. For the 18 days in the suicide room, he did not rest at all. Liang Qiu's body trembled, and he retreated a few steps. A Maori subconsciously used the huge shield that he picked up to block in front of him. Clang. Liang Qiu's heart trembled, he bellowed, and with a flick of his wrist, the metal chain on his wrist was pulled, and the metal chain ball shot out, shooting behind him. Hurry up! The gigantic blade aura flew close to the ground, and the few people who were running for their lives were sliced in half. Then, following that, the enemy's main target was only one, and that was himself. A shocking amount of blood flowed down the arm that he used to raise the shield. Han Bingning and Sima Xiangshan did not say anything, and followed closely behind Bing, running with all their might. The Swallowtail camp was frightened by the blade of the Lupus army, and their originally low morale finally collapsed. A few of the cowardly soldiers screamed and turned to escape. These soldiers who had lost control immediately caused an avalanche of reactions. His gaze landed in the middle of a group of soldiers. They looked no different from the rest, but if one looked carefully, they would realize they were faintly forming a protective circle. The wind concealment steps under his feet gradually changed. His footsteps became lighter, and the resistance of breaking through the air became smaller, but he was not happy at all, and continued to try to be faster. Bang! Bang! Although the enemy's commander used his elites to tangle with a Maori and the other three, the four of them still had a huge impact. If the enemy's commander was said to be controlling a large net, then there were now 4 large holes in this large net. Huang Fu Hong realized that Sky Tiger was looking at him, and his face changed. The enemy had actually sensed his location. He slowly carried Jing Hao and chased after Bing and the rest. Liang Qiu was immediately surrounded. He took a deep breath, did not advance, but retreated, borrowing the strength of the chain ball. His body suddenly leaned back. The elite behind him had yet to recover from Liang Qiu's attack, and Liang Qiu's response was also unexpected. His face couldn't help but change. However, he also knew that if he dodged now, the encirclement would collapse on its own. How he wished that time could slow down at this moment. A low crashing sound came from behind, and someone exclaimed, "Be careful, there's something strange about his qi." Only Bing was calmer. He was familiar with army battles, so he did not get caught. But at this moment, his heart was filled with shock. The enemy's general was indeed not an incompetent person. The light auras that enveloped the army quickly converged at the front of the formation, transforming into 8 gigantic blade auras that were over 3 m tall. Suddenly, he heard the hurried sound of hooves behind him. The opponent clearly understood Bing's intentions, and similarly sensed that a Maori and the rest did not have the experience of fighting armies, so they used their elites to tangle with the 4 of them and firmly held the initiative. Yin Yang Sans Ho was an unparalleled martial technique. Bing raised his head abruptly and looked to the left, 300 feet away. Zhang Zheng was completely stunned. This. What kind of military general is this? Yi Zhaogu, who was in the air, stopped and muttered to himself, "Let these fellows die together, the scene will be even more spectacular." Ha! Almost at the same time, 2 wind sounds came out from both sides of Liang Qiu, and from the sound of the wind, Liang Qiu knew that they had encountered the elites of the army. Zhang Zheng's Swallowtail camp had suffered a blow previously, and their morale was affected, but under Zhang Zheng's command, they once again started their formation. In the empty tunnel, there was only the sound of Tang Tian flying through the air. The Swallowtail camp was plowed into 8 bloody paths, and along the way, blood and flesh flew everywhere. The Swallowtail camp's formation was actually plowed through. But the Lupus army that was charging was much more powerful than they had imagined. As though he had eyes on the back of his head, Liang Qiu suddenly raised his elbow. Whoosh! A metal ball shot out from his armpit, straight towards his face. The martial artist behind him turned pale with fright, and subconsciously slashed at the metal ball. Tang Yi, who was at the front of the formation, rushed to the front of the enemy. The zanbato in his hand suddenly slashed down, and behind him, all the Lupus soldiers waved their blades in unison. Bang! Any army would have an expert overseeing it. Without an expert overseeing it, it was unimaginable. The use of experts was not only to be able to fight against the enemy's experts, but also to be able to break the deadlock. Han Bingning's opponents were a pair of twin sisters, although the 2 of them were slightly weaker, but they were telepathically linked and had a tacit understanding. Adding the 20 martial artists supporting them, they were able to stabilize the situation. Zhang Zheng was being carried by his bodyguards to escape. His face was stupefied. The speed of his hands was not fast, but his strength was astonishing, and everywhere he passed, people would fall and horses would fall. Bing's poker face did not have any expression, but the corner of his mouth curled up. Clenching his teeth, his face was covered with perspiration. The young man's heart was unstoppable. "I have long been waiting for you." The bone-piercing cold intent caused the hairs on his body to stand. He did not dare to stop, and used all his might to drill forward. But the cold intent behind his back was like a bone maggot. He could not get rid of it. Buzz! Sky Tiger opened up his stance and was about to charge forward. Bang! His body became light, and the resistance in front of him seemed to have disappeared without a trace. His legs seemed to be stepping on a gust of wind, and his speed suddenly increased. "Be careful!" 8 gigantic blade auras whistled through the air, flying towards the enemy's formation. The enemy's light barrier was like fragile glass, instantly shattering. Suddenly, the sound of the wind beside his ear changed. Many of the Lupus soldiers behind him were gasping for breath, revealing a look of exhaustion. That blade just now had actually drained more than half of their true power. But all of their eyes were red, as though there was a regiment of flames burning in their bodies. Although their strength was exhausted, but they were not the least bit afraid. Bang! Tang Yi led the army, and like a chisel he plunged into the enemy's formation. Suddenly, Bing sensed an extremely dangerous qi. He raised his head, and suddenly realized a figure had appeared above his head. When Bing saw Jing Hao in Yi Zhaoji's hands, his face changed again. Tang Tian, you can definitely do it. Definitely can do it. Other than a Maori who took the blow, the other three reacted quickly and dodged. Faster! Faster! A little faster! Although Liang Qiu had not truly comprehended the profoundness of Yin Yang San's Ho, but even so, it still made him as powerful as a tiger, and no one could stop him. One fatal strike, one touch, and then retreat. A clear picture appeared in Bing's mind. He had never heard of such an attack before. His gaze was blank. It was obviously just a cannon fodder army. How could they be so strong? Could it be that previously they were faking it? Retreat. Huang Fu Hong, who was completely focused on Bing, did not have time to react. The formless sword qi landed on the battlefield and immediately splattered countless of blood flowers. Being caught off guard, they immediately suffered heavy losses. Kill! Bing's shout resonated throughout the entire battlefield. Sima Xiangshan's figure was extremely strange. The heavy armor army's tall and big physique gave him a huge advantage. He was like an extremely agile snake, coming and going like the wind in the shadows. Once he found an opening, he would bare his fangs. Three short and small black-robed swordsmen, wielding a sword, chased closely behind him. His figure flickered, and in the next moment he appeared 300 m away. The wind whistled past his ears. He ran with all his might. Amauri felt as though he was hit by a heavy hammer. His mind was muddled. The sand beneath his feet exploded, forming a huge pit of 10 m deep and 15 m wide. He had never been so focused on running without caring about anything, running with his life on the line. He held onto Jing Hao's sword, fiercely slashing downwards like a torrential downpour of rain from more than 10 swords. A blue figure swept past him, grabbed the white-faced Amauri, and ran with all his might. The martial artists that fell in his hands all had extremely small wounds on their bodies. Everyone shouted in agreement, "Kill!" A ray of sword qi stuck to his back and entered the ground. Amauri's movements were even bigger. Surrounding him were 3 small groups of over 30 people. On the board of unique warriors, another name lit up. Bing's advantage of being through hundreds of battles was displayed thoroughly. Bing's reaction was the fastest out of everyone. In that moment, he was able to judge the disparity in strength between both parties. Sky Tiger, who had grabbed Amauri, appeared beside Liang Qiu in the next moment. The calm and collected Bing did not forget. Among the 4 of them, Liang Qiu and Amauri's light body techniques were the weakest. The formless sword qi poured down like rain, attacking indiscriminately. He had already started to think on how to raise the standard of Lupus army, such a standard of assault. What was there to be happy about? Liang Qiu still wanted to add another attack, but at that moment, 2 rays of blade auras were already in front of him. Helpless, he could only shake both of his arms, and 2 metal chains flew back, clashing with the 2 blade auras. Compared to Liang Qiu, Sima Xiangshan's attack was even more terrifying. Bing's gaze landed on the middle-aged man with a face full of hardships. The sky above everyone's head was sliced into pieces by the countless sword qi. Like the water in a pond being stirred, Yi Zhaoji's figure immediately became blurry. My unique warrior, this assault. Others might need to wait for your attack to confirm your position, but I have already locked onto your position. A powerful force drilled into his body through the blade, causing his chest to be in pain, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Tang Yi rode his horse to Zhang Zheng's corpse. He was extremely conspicuous among the fanatical and excited soldiers. His face was extremely calm, without a hint of happiness. He bit his lips tightly, his stubborn eyes burning with a surging flame. Huang Fu Hong's eyes almost popped out. He never thought that Yi Zhaoge would not even let his allies go. Yi Zhaoge, after training bitterly underwater, every move he made contained astonishing power. His attacks were simple and plain, without any light aura, but the power of the metal chains was able to penetrate through the thick armor and directly hit the martial artist inside. Behead the thief. He clenched his teeth and slashed towards Liang Qiu, who was retreating. Liang Qiu's speed was not fast, his body technique was also not special, but the two heavy metal chains were like two heavy hammers, bringing along a low whistling sound, smashing onto the weapons. If it did not break, it would bend. The sound resonated in all four directions, causing the sky to change. When Liang Qiu saw clearly who it was, they were truly elites. The armors of the three of them were clearly different from the rest. He held the metal chains in his hands, his face as gloomy as water. He knew the bitter battle had just begun. The blade aura that had not stopped entered the enemy's formation. Suddenly, Sima Xiangshan felt a chill down his spine. Without thinking, his body bent down. Like a snake, he flew out while sticking close to the ground. Chapter 338. But he did not cower. Ling Su had just experienced a huge battle, and the only one who retained his strength was him. He was duty-bound to be the main attacker. When he was with Tang Tian and the rest, Crane had never been the main attacker. Tang Tian and Ling Su were battle maniacs, and most of the time, he was in charge of cleaning up the battlefield. Yong Xianzhong suddenly flew into the sky. Zhaogu, wait a moment. In just a short moment, everyone could clearly see who was coming. Sky Tiger was carrying a Maori and Liang Qiu, while Han Bingning and Sima Xiangshan were running behind him. It did not look like they were returning from a victory. But behind them, there was no one. Such a big tone. Ling Su could not resist but snort. A Maori is injured? Crane immediately asked. Tang Yi did not go near, but led the Lupus army and stopped about 200 m away from them. Crane and Ling Su's face congealed. Bing's strength was unfathomable, his eyesight was shrewd and ruthless, and his words did not sound like he was joking. He let go of Jing Hao, and Jing Hao fell onto the sand dune like a sandbag. Yi Zhaoge extended his hand to touch his face. Seeing the blood stains on his fingers, he licked it. In just a short moment, Ling Su, Bing, Han Bingning, Liang Qiu and Sima Xiangshan were already in position. The sword tip suddenly lit up with a dazzling light aura, and he suddenly disappeared. After receiving Yi Zhaoji's sword, I am slightly exhausted. A Maori had already regained his senses, and was crestfallen. But his palms were split apart by Yi Zhaoji's sword, and were dripping with blood. It looked terrifying, but in truth his injuries were not severe. But thinking about how he was the only one injured out of so many people, a Maori immediately felt ashamed. In the blink of an eye, on the distant sand dune, a few black dots appeared. The experiences he had after meeting Tang Tian and the others surfaced in his mind. Driving a carriage, tidying up, keeping accounts, and various other chores. To a youth who had once aspired to join the Light Crane sect, this was something he had never thought about. Sky Tiger appeared behind Yi Zhaoge like a flash of blue lightning. He crossed his left and right arms, forming a dazzling cross. With an astonishing aura, he pressed it towards Yi Zhaoji's back. Brother Yong, please watch the battle from the side. Crane said calmly. The taste of the roasted meat just now was not bad. It seemed to have the fragrance of green cloud wood. It is very special. Crane smiled. Crane's hand held onto the sword hilt, his expression solemn. He knew how terrifying the enemy in front of him was. After a few leaps, Bing and the rest arrived beside them. A white sword light instantly appeared in front of Yi Zhaoge. Yi Zhaoge tilted his head to the side, and a trace of blood appeared on his cheek. Yi Zhaoge is here. A sword ray made of transparent ice crystals flew out of Han Bingning's sword and went straight for Yi Zhaoji's feet. Bing threw a Maori down. He suddenly released a formless sword chi. Yong Xianzhong opened his mouth, but he did not know how to persuade him. Crane's tone was extremely calm and firm. Out of everyone's expectations, Bing said, "He has such strength." Just at that moment, Crane moved, his body moving along with his sword, like a black crane pouncing. All the essence, chi and spirit in his body converged into his sword. He started to rack his brains to think of a way to salvage the situation. His teacher and Sagittarius constellation's relationship was not ordinary. Every time his teacher talked about the Empress, Yong Xianzhong, who had flirted with countless girls, always suspected that his teachers secretly admired the empress, but was limited by his own strength and did not have the courage to speak up. Yong Xianzhong, who was an experienced womanizer, was extremely familiar with this kind of expression and tone. No wonder you guys are not willing to give up. Liang Qiu bellowed, all the true power in his body surging. As though it was extremely strenuous, he slowly released both fists. One black and one white fist aura flew out, towards Yi Zhaoge. But Crane's heart was extremely empty. The crane sword in his hand seemed to have a life of its own, responding to him. Yong Xianzhong's mouth was filled with bitterness. Although others did not know Yi Zhaoji's temper, how could he not know? Once Yi Zhaoji's eyes turned red, no one could stop him, even his father Yi Jiao could not stop him. But if he were to watch Crane get killed by Yi Zhaoge, he would not be able to explain himself when he returned. Sima Xiangshan was like a wisp of smoke, appearing behind Yi Zhaoji's head. His 5 fingers were like claws, quietly grabbing towards the back of Yi Zhaoji's head. Yi Zhaoji's eyes lit up. Interesting. Yi Zhaoge, who was holding onto Jing Hao, stopped, squinted his eyes. What's the matter? Then how strong would Tang Tian be? Ha, other people do not appreciate it. You scram to the side, don't be a hindrance, be careful, I will kill you too, causing my sister to be a widow. Yi Zhaoji's tone was cold, his killing intent overflowing. All right, a man knows when to bow and submit, Yong Xianzhong secretly encouraged himself. Inside the flames, a cold aura that was like a star, Ling Su gathered all the true power in his body. This spear was not held back at all. Bing threw a Maori to Huama Air, who was rushing over, and let them return to the stronghold. Everyone's expressions immediately became incomparably unsightly. Which one of the people present wasn't arrogant and unruly fellows? They were truly happy. He did not mind it at all. He and Yong Xianzhong leisurely walked forward, while Ling Su sat on Flamingo's back, recovering his strength. However, when he needed to step forward bravely, he wouldn't hesitate or retreat. He was also calm, chatting with Crane along the way. There was no sign of the hostility from before. But everything was as it should be, and everything happened unknowingly. Yong Xianzhong had always been fearful of this brother-in-law of his. Being stared at by Yi Zhaoji's killing intent, his heart trembled, but he could only bite the bullet and say, Crane is teacher's old friend, may I ask Zhaoge? When the 3 of them reached the Lupus tribe, they realized that Tang Yi's Lupus army had long returned. Tang Yi, who was unparalleled in assault, was most suited to play the role of the final killing blow. Yong Xianzhong was extremely curious. Yi Zhaoji's figure finally appeared in everyone's vision. Yi Zhaoji's face surfaced a ruthless smile. This old man was definitely not to be provoked. When Sky Tiger looked at him, he understood Bing's plan. Everyone's attacks were to attract Yi Zhaoji's attention, and the true killing blow was from Tang Yi's Lupus army. The lonely life in the mountains, the powerful ant, the declining Crane sect, and his father's dying wish was like a heavy burden, pressing down on his body, nurturing Crane's introverted personality. Since young, he did not have any companions. He was dazzling, he was outstanding, he worked hard to do everything he could, martial techniques, etiquette, he was perfect. All of the envious gazes did not make him happy. Yong Xianzhong knew his brother-in-law's words were not a joke. This was the weapon he used to display his extraordinary style, in front of the flowers, under the moonlight, drinking tea and admiring the moon, talking about life's ideals with the beauties. How pleasurable was that? Seeing that Tang Yi's Lupus army was unharmed, Crane and Ling Su heaved a sigh of relief, while a strange look flashed past Yong Xianzhong's eyes. Yong Xianzhong naturally did not place Zhang Zheng's swallowtail camp in his eyes, but in the northern sky's 19 continents, they were considered a force not to be underestimated, and they were actually defeated like that? Yi Zhaoge did not have any impression of Crane's name, and said indifferently, "Bring him away." Tang Yi's mind was extremely focused. He knew he only had one chance to make a move. Suddenly, Crane turned his head and looked to the side, his gaze congealing. But he was very happy now. He knew that the sky was so blue, the sunlight was so beautiful, and there were so many stupid things he could do, and dreams could be so beautiful to be realized. The zanbato in his hand was raised up high. Yong Xianzhong glanced at Ling Su, who was on the bird's back. His strength was unfathomable. He could not help but be interested in the group of people. Out of the group, the most famous one was not Crane with his unfathomable background, nor was it the powerful Ling Su in front of him, but Tang Tian. Jing Hao lost? Ling Su asked. He forced out a smile. As long as you like it, it's good. Quick sword. Amauri was born with a godly strength, adding the special death training. His brute strength was astonishing, but he actually lost all his strength after receiving Yi Zhaoji's sword. Yi Zhaoji's sword was actually so heavy. In truth, interacting with Crane was extremely enjoyable. Crane's character and cultivation were impeccable. He treated people with respect and was warm and easy to get along with, causing Yong Xianzhong to be secretly amazed. Yong Xianzhong heaved a sigh of relief. Thank you, Zhao Ge. Bing did not beat around the bush. He is behind us. He is waiting for us to meet up and then kill us all. Crane and Ling Su looked at each other. Yi Zhaoji's sword actually made Amauri lose all his strength. Yong Xianzhong's face twitched, his heart bleeding. The desert was an endless sand dune. Where could he find any wood? Helplessly, he could only tear down a small tea table made of green cloud wood. Green cloud wood was extremely expensive. Such a small tea table cost him 200,000 star coins. He spent another 100,000 star coins and invited a master to meticulously carve it. It was truly luxurious. Of course, he did not dare to prove it to his teacher. If the old man became angry, breaking his legs would be considered light. Almost at the same time, everyone moved. Bing did not see Tang Tian and was slightly disappointed, but he quickly adjusted his emotions. On the battlefield, anything could happen, but the battle had to continue. Helplessly, he could only retreat to the side, his heart set on thinking of a way to save Crane from Zhao Ge. Tang Yi, who was in the distance, suddenly led his army to charge. A distance of 200 meters to Tang Yi was the best distance for him to charge. This time, it concerned everyone's life and death. Bing noticed Yong Xianzhong, but did not say anything, and only glanced at Tang. Crane's eyes suddenly flashed a cold aura. His body was like a crane's shadow. The crane sword in his hand did not dodge and slashed out. Prepare for battle. Bing's words caused Crane and Ling Su's face to change. Just at that moment, Crane's calm voice sounded out. Thank you for Brother Yong's good intentions, but, although Crane's strength is average, I do not plan to abandon my friends and escape. The only thing that was unsightly was Crane's tattered black robe, proving that his previous experience was not normal. Yong Xianzhong was in charge of the matters of the sect, and was knowledgeable, so his evaluation of Crane was even higher. The resources of aristocratic family disciples were extremely abundant. If he could endure hardship, then his future achievements would be limitless. Crane's shout caused everyone's heart to tremble. Chapter 339. Yi Zhaoge did not dodge. His eyes flashed a strange red that was hard to detect. The broken sword pointed at everyone, and the sky suddenly darkened. Tang Tian was sprinting, using all his strength to sprint. His heavy breathing was like a bellow, his mind was blank, he did not know how long he had been running for. Everyone's face changed, they stared at the freak in shock. The formless sword chi clashed with the golden blade aura, and immediately exploded. The fine air currents caused the surroundings of the golden blade aura to become a blur, as though there were ripples in the water. Liang Qiu's eyes turned red. Even Yong Xianzhong was dumbstruck. He knew that his brother-in-law was powerful, but he did not expect him to be so abnormal. The sword in his hand was placed horizontally in front of his chest, gathering true power. Other than Tang Yi, who was still sitting on his horse, the rest of the Lupus army had all fallen off their horses. Almost a third of them had blood flowing out of their mouths. Tang Yi looked at Yi Zhaoge in the sky in disbelief. He did not dare believe that there was actually someone in the world who could block his blade. I am so sorry, to actually wear the same clothes. The black figure in front of him was like a big black crane dancing gracefully. Even at that moment, It was so suave that it caused people's eyes to turn red, only that one light shout was solemn and firm. Crane's sword screen. I just need a while. I am sorry, everyone, please hold on for a while more. Everyone knew Tang Yi's following attack would definitely be earth-shattering. All the running, all the hard work, everything, was for the sake of stepping onto the battlefield, to be able to fight alongside all of you. The underground base was brightly lit, but there was no one. Not far away, a gigantic sand dune exploded without any warning. Tens of thousands of tons of sand flew hundreds of meters into the sky. Yi Zhaoge looked down at everyone from above. Pa. Tang Yi's body trembled. Master? What kind of freak is he? Bing's cross slash was like a heavy hammer landing on Yi Zhaoji's back. The bright cross was like a brand on Yi Zhaoji's back. Hello, I am a disciple of the Crane sect. You can call me Crane. Liang Qiu's black and white fist aura seeped into Yi Zhaoji's body, destroying his vitality. Every strand of his hair stood on end. His left palm was as black as ink, and his right palm was as white as jade. His palms slowly pushed out, and a black and white intertwined light screen appeared in front of the three. They were finally there. I'll just wear black from now on. I'm really sorry, Crane. Why? Cross light shield? Sima Xiangshan's 5 hook-like fingers tore apart Yi Zhaoji's neck effortlessly. Blood spurted high into the air, and Yi Zhaoji's neck drooped down, revealing horrifying flesh and blood. Ling Su's eyes were filled with despair. That attack just now had exhausted his last bit of true power. The sound was like rolling thunder, piercing through the clouds. 200 scimitars suddenly slashed down. A power that came out of nowhere caused his speed to increase by a notch. His empty eyes gradually lit up, and his gaze became focused. He grinned and laughed silently. But looking at Yi Zhaoji's appearance, no one believed that he could survive. Huff, how could he become a burden? Kill! The formless sword qi coiling around the sword body suddenly transformed into 7 streams, rushing towards everyone. Ling Su's mouth was filled with bitterness. Suddenly, his eyes darkened, and a familiar black figure blocked in front of him. The two of them knew that he could not escape, and ran over to help him. All of you go and die. To be able to succeed so easily caused everyone to be startled. Yi Zhaoge was so ferocious just now, how could he be defeated so easily? Yi Zhaoge frantically waved the sword in his hand, and the formless sword qi continued to rush towards the golden blade aura. Han Bingning and Sima Xiangshan, one on the left and one on the right, appeared beside Liang Qiu. Han Bingning's sword aura swept out an ice wall, while Sima Xiangshan threw out a regiment of black mist. To die in the hands of such a strong martial artist, it is not a disgrace. Scram. The golden blade aura slashed onto the sword. The sudden explosion caused him to stop. Was there a conspiracy? In the blink of an eye, his neck was as good as new. The wound left by Crane's sword had already stopped bleeding, and the flesh inside was squirming. The fist-sized wound was shrinking at an astonishing speed, but when it shrunk to the size of a walnut, it could no longer shrink. This was an army, an ocean of true power. The ferocious formless sword qi was unable to move the golden blade aura. The golden blade aura had sliced through countless formless sword qi. Other than the dimming of the light aura, it forcefully appeared in front of Yi Zhaoge. Yi Zhaoge bellowed. The sword in his hand suddenly disappeared, and the air in front of him shattered. Tang Yi, who was leading the Lupus army to charge forward, was already within 100 m of them. On everyone's body, a bright light aura rose. The light aura merged into one, enveloping the entire army. Tang Yi raised his zanbato up high. The light aura was dense and glaring. The fatigue retreated like a tide. Tang Tian's eyes slowly lit up. His breathing was still rough, sweat still soaking his clothes. But the war horn was already blown in the young lad's heart, and his blood had already started to boil. Han Bingning, Liang Qiu and Sima Xiangshan, the three of them flew out and fainted. 100 cavalry galloped on the sand with the force of thunder. Crane's sword was as fast as lightning. Tang Yi, who was seething with anger, used all his strength and heavily slashed down. Recruit barracks. Bang! Bing's pupils suddenly constricted. Yi Zhaoge, with his head drooped down, the badly mutilated Yi Zhaoge, was actually still floating in the air. If he was completely dead, he should be falling down. The flesh and blood on the ground continued to squirm and grow. Am I going to die? Perspiration dripped onto the floor of the recruit barracks. A figure that was as tenacious as raging flames stepped through the light door. His face was also covered in blood. Blood flowed down from his forehead and covered his entire face. It was an indescribably terrifying sight. Han Bingning's ice sand sword aura coiled around Yi Zhaoji's ankle, causing his ankle to quickly become pale white. The cold intent was like an extreme cold wave, quickly spreading to the other parts of Yi Zhaoji's body. He raised the broken sword in his hand. This warm-up really took a long time. The terrifying true power ignited every inch of the air. The fine air currents were like extremely sharp blades, exploding out in all directions. Everyone who could not dodge in time, all had a few more wounds on their bodies. But everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Such a berserk energy explosion, it was impossible for anyone to survive. Bing appeared in front of the Lupus army. Sky Tiger crossed his arms, his body half squatting, a cross-shaped light screen appearing in front of him. Tang Yi saw it too. If it was any other time, he would definitely be shocked. But at the moment, he was rushing forward with all his might. His mind did not have any distracting thoughts. The surging true power around him, causing his blood vessels to expand. Even if it was an undying monster in front of him, he did not have any fear in his heart. It could be seen clearly in the sky, all of the light auras, like a tide, rapidly converging towards the Zanbato in Tang Yi's hands. The Zanbato in Tang Yi's hands seemed to be dyed with a layer of gold liquid. Like the sun exploding, the dazzling gold light aura caused the sky to turn white, and nothing could be seen. When the light aura dissipated, everyone could then see clearly. The sword in Yi Zhaoji's hand was only left with half a sword. His entire body was covered in blood, as though he had just been fished out from a pool of blood, fresh blood dripping down his body. A maniacal laughter came out from the light, causing everyone's face to change. How? How is that possible? Yi Zhaoge opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of smoke. The black and white was clearly visible. It was the black and white fist aura that permeated into his body. The maniacal and hysterical roar brought with it a dense killing intent. Ling Su's spear tip exploded a large hole on Yi Zhaoji's thigh, revealing the broken bones inside. Bing's roar caused everyone to wake up, and they immediately moved out of the way. Yi Zhaoge felt as though he was being stared at by an extremely dangerous beast. His entire body tensed up, but he immediately raged, "Scram!" A hoarse and low voice swept across the entire field. The enemies were getting closer and closer. The aura of the soldiers behind him continued to rise. Tang Yi felt as though he was in a blazing hot current. "I'm coming!" Bang! Ka. Spider web-like cracks quickly extended out from Sky Tiger's body. That is the recruit barracks. It is all for the victory that belongs to us. Suddenly, the seemingly dead Yi Zhaoji's left hand moved. Following that was a strange scene, causing everyone to be indescribably shocked. Yi Zhaoji's left hand suddenly rose up, touching his head, and then straightened his head. A trace of blood flowed down Crane's palm. Crane's body did not move, and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The formless sword cheese current crashed onto the sword screen. His legs trembled slightly, and the ice crystals on his ankles were blown away, and the pale white frostbite disappeared without a trace. Under the rain of sand, a blurry figure, holding onto two swords, slowly walked out from the rain of sand. Every single person in the army had light regiments of true power that lit up. To everyone, the light regiments could only be considered thin. But when the 200 light regiments merged into one, the imposing aura was like a vast ocean surging forward, causing everyone to feel suffocated. "I'm finally here. Don't tell me that I'm not dead yet? Who can stop me? Who can stop me?" The moment the golden blade aura flew out, the sky seemed to have darkened. All the light auras in the world converged into the golden blade aura. His heavy breathing and heartbeat seemed to be booming beside his ears. Perspiration dripping down his wooden face, Tang Tian struggled to move his lips. Why would I hide behind you? I am the oldest. Wait a minute, something's wrong. Crane's sword fiercely pierced into his body. Yi Zhaogu was like a powerless puppet. In a moment he was pierced through, coming out from his back, bringing along a rain of blood. Yi Zhaoji's pupils constricted. His slack gaze converged, and the scene in front of him finally changed. Tang Tian, who stepped through the light door, did not stop. He stepped on the ground, soared into the sky, and struck the ceiling above his head. But he was not resigned to it. Not a bad battle. Yi Zhaogu sneered, but it's over. Even if Yi Zhaogu had any schemes, in front of absolute power, there was no chance of survival. I'm sorry, I'm late. He only knew to run with all his might, as though it was his instinct. It was all because of the promise we made. Everyone was intimidated by Tang Yi's charging, imposing manner. Crane's sword brought out 12 sword images, like a black crane spreading its wings, erecting a sword screen. Countless of formless sword chi, like a dense rainstorm, frantically pounced onto the golden blade aura. Yi Zhaogu suddenly stopped roaring, raising the broken sword in his hand, his face revealing a sinister smile. Countless of formless sword chi spewed out from the broken sword. They revolved quickly around the sword body, converging into a terrifying tornado, rushing into the sky. Chapter 340. These two guesses had to be traced back to Tang Tian's mysterious father. Bing was extremely curious. The only regret was that the cross/ just now was not the cross/ of heaven and hell. He forgot about the sleepless battles in the suicide room. He forgot about the day and night running after breaking through. He forgot that his body was extremely tired. He felt his heart was burning, his body was burning, but the raging flames lingered around with a thread of coldness. For the first time, his face changed. Unless the sword technique inheritance was sealed in Tang Tian's body? Go and die. The most damaging was Tang Tian's cross/. So the conspiracy was here. Tang Tian did not reply. Bang. Yi Zhaoji's heart suddenly felt a sense of danger, causing all the hairs on his body to stand. The sand dune exploded, and Yi Zhaogu once again flew into the sky. His appearance was somewhat miserable. The blue and black cross imprint on his chest was extremely terrifying. When the red and blue cross lit up in the sky, Bing felt as though he was struck by lightning. His mind went blank. Memories from a long time ago surged into his mind. Because I still have so many doubts, how can I stop here? Yi Zhaogu did not make a sound. A ray of light flashed past his eyes. As expected, Tang Tian's sword technique was slightly inexperienced. Ordinary people might not be able to sense it, but Yi Zhaogu had trained with the sword for so many years, and even the slightest change was instantly captured. The blue and black cross sword light was reflected in his eyes. Yi Zhaogu instinctively used his sword to block in front of his body. But Bing's gaze landed on Tang Tian's body, and his tensed nerves relaxed. Tang Tian was truly powerful, he was truly strong. Brat, don't be anxious. Green and red cross scythe, it is slightly difficult to learn. Because of our dreams, the promises we made under the starry sky, no one has ever forgotten. The young man sat on the ground crying. A thick palm patted his head. Ling Su was enlightened. He always thought that Crane did not pull out his sword because he wanted to act cool, so it was because he could not pull it out. The flamingo below him was also exhausted, sitting on the ground on its butt. He lovingly stroked the flamingo's head. His gaze landed on the safe and sound sword in Tang Tian's left hand. This sword actually had such a strange power. I just want to win. As expected of the leader of this group, Tang Tian was stronger than the others. Because its horizontal slash is blue, which symbolizes the sky, and its vertical slash is black, which symbolizes hell. Ling Su relaxed. He was not afraid of death, but if Crane were to die in front of him because of him, he would not be able to rest in peace. A figure wielding a sword silently appeared in front of Tang Tian. Yi Zhaogu. The Saint Sword Ocean Prison in Tang Tian's right hand also slashed out. The sword aura formed by the void dark flames clashed with Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi, releasing an explosion-like groan. This invisible sword qi had a faint glow to it. The long sword in his hand instantly shattered, and an indescribable force struck his chest. Yi Zhaogu was not surprised that the void dark flames had such power, but, "I am fighting shoulder to shoulder with everyone, my heart is still beating, my breath is still present, I can still touch the sunlight and smell the wind." Tang Tian's world was very quiet, only the rumbling of his heartbeat and his bellows-like breathing could be heard. He muttered in his heart, as though he was talking to himself, but also as though he was muttering to the thread of ice. Bing secretly shook his head. He planned to go back and ask Old Man Fei, what blood meridians did Yi Zhaogu have to actually be able to withstand such a fatal attack and still be unharmed, as though he had an undying body. I just want to tell you, I am Tang Tian. The thunder flame sword aura and the formless sword aura fiercely clashed together, the astonishing power colliding. The dazzling light aura immediately caused Tang Tian's eyes to turn white. Suddenly, a different formless sword qi pierced through the blue and black sword aura and instantly flew in front of Tang Tian. "Rest, that pervert is here. Why is my heart on fire?" And this group of people, they really make me look forward to it. Alright, even though this guy came a little late, he still came. I just want to tell you, I will definitely defeat you and step on your corpse to advance. The blue light regiment at the safe and sound sword's tip suddenly exploded. Did he finally break through the suicide room? The air was filled with energy, and the black flames flew everywhere. Aha, how can I remember such things? The commander laughed, but his face immediately became serious. But this technique, you must definitely train hard. Its ultimate technique is very powerful. The safe and sound sword in his left hand suddenly lit up with the same dazzling light aura and fiercely thrust it out. Tang Tian raised his head. The fighting intent in his eyes was so intense that it was hard to look straight at him. Bang! The safe and sound sword in his left hand was enveloped in blue flames. The Saint Sword Ocean Prison in his right hand exploded with black flames, and Tang Tian's figure suddenly disappeared. But Yi Zhaogu would not be defeated so easily. Tang Tian did not continue attacking. The cross slash just now had used up a lot of his energy, and his body was too tired. Putting on airs and acting cool thing. But something is wrong with this fellow. Other than Tang Tian, there were 3 other people who could injure him: Jing Hao, Crane and Bing. Jing Hao's sword aura was swallowed by his body to less than 10%, but the remaining 10% was extremely stubborn and used up about 30% of his true power. Crane was the only person who could leave an injury on his body and was unable to recover. Bing's cross slash was similar to Tang Tian's cross slash, but its power was much weaker. Tang Tian floated in the air, coldly staring at the ground. Yes, it is called Sky and Hell's cross slash. I am the only one who mastered it. Powerful, right? Wah. Because Southern Cross Constellation is still so far away, how can I fall here? Is the Honorable Martial Alliance really that strong? The dazzling blue light aura instantly condensed at the safe and sound sword's tip, becoming a blue light regiment the size of a fist, striking Yi Zhaoji's sword without any fancy moves. Laughing out loud, Yi Zhaoji's sword qi was like rain. The formless sword qi pounced towards Tang Tian like rain. Tang Tian snorted, both swords slashing horizontally. The blue sword aura and black sword aura similarly pounced towards Yi Zhaogu. Alright, in everyone's eyes, in terms of abnormality, this godlike young lad was not inferior to anyone. Abnormality against abnormality, this is how it should be, right? The two of you fight to the death, we will watch the show, cheer and clap, that is how it should be. Bing heaved a sigh of relief. He could no longer hold on. Sky Tiger crumbled, he staggered, and struggled out from the fragments. Yi Zhaoji's strength was too terrifying, even if his own strength was not as strong as before, but this abnormal fellow was actually only ranked 6th in the Honorable Martial Alliance? If there was anyone in this group who had the highest possibility of defeating Yi Zhaogu, it could only be Tang Tian, the person who could never be measured by common sense. Tang Tian's figure was enveloped by a layer of faintly discernible flames. His expression was ice-cold, causing people to feel unfamiliar. Like raindrops of sand hitting the ground, crackling sounds could be heard. His torn pants could not cover his injured feet, and the rain of sand did not stop his silent but firm footsteps. But a pity, comparing sword techniques, you are still lacking. Sky and Hell's Cross / That's right, that abnormal person is here. Tang Tian's mouth surfaced a pleased smile. He suddenly roared, safe and sound. Or sealed in Saint Sword Ocean Prison. This fellow's injuries are not too serious, right? Because we are going to Southern Cross Constellation, we want to become stronger together, we want to travel through Heaven's Road. Yi Zhaoge laughed. He took out a steel sword from the silver Aquarius cabinet, shook the sword body, and suddenly slashed towards Tang Tian. The fellow in front of him was exactly the same. This fellow, exactly how many secrets did he hide? Ultimate consummate technique? The young lad was immediately attracted, his eyes filled with curiosity. Not only him, Ling Su also heaved a sigh of relief. After regaining his composure from the shock, Bing's attention immediately became much sharper. Yi Zhaoge was like a ball that was sent flying, transforming into a perfectly straight black shadow, entering the sand dune. But when he realized that Tang Tian's cross slash, the horizontal slash was black and the vertical slash was blue, Bing heaved a sigh of relief, but for some reason his heart was somewhat disappointed. He could not help but laugh at himself. He always hoped that the commander would leave behind some traces. The two sword auras exploded in the middle of the two of them. Ling Su's face congealed as he looked at Tang Tian, and Crane's expression also congealed. The two of them thought about the battle with Meng Wei and Tang Tian's strange state. Tang Tian did not have any recollection of what happened after the battle. His feet stepped on the soft sand. The flames melted the sand, leaving behind burnt footprints, which were quickly covered by the sand. Don't say it's wishful thinking, don't say it's young and ignorant, don't say it's already decided. Why does my blood have to burn up? Yi Zhaoji's face twitched. The cross imprint on his chest had two strange energies, continuously permeating into his body. Don't say, hey, stop dreaming. The young man stopped crying, raised his tear-stained face and asked, did Commander train for a long time too? The huge impact caused the sand dune to explode. Dong dong dong. You're Tang Tian? Yi Zhaoji's voice came out from the sky. This sword, Tang Tian had prepared for a long time. The safe and sound sword's power and the true power in his body surged out. But the sword technique was very strange. The last time when he summoned the Saint Sword Ocean Prison, Bing had already made many guesses, and the current dual sword cross slash was not something any ordinary martial artist could use. Other than the fundamental sword techniques, Tang Tian did not learn any other sword techniques. What a weird name. Why is it called the Sky and Hell's Cross slash? Crane turned his head with a face of innocence. The sword has ancestor's seal. I am not strong enough, so I can't pull it out. Ling Su's heart was moved. His concern continued to churn, but the words that came out of his mouth were, hey, you pretentious brat, why don't you pull out your sword? Tang Tian faintly felt that something was wrong. His state of mind was lingering with a faint ice cold. This ice cold made him extremely sharp. But the burning fighting intent filled every part of his body. This ice cold was completely occupied by the crazed fighting intent that was as hot as lava. Tang Tian roared. The Saint Sword Ocean Prison in his hand suddenly exploded with a black flame and slashed horizontally. Because there was not much reason. Crane in front of him did not move at all. Wave after wave of formless energy and black flame blue aura exploded out like fireworks. Chapter 341. As if it did not know tiredness, the white whale swam in the silent void. There was a deviation in his estimation. It seemed like he was stronger than he thought. Hey, Broken Sword, do you know why I did not agree to hand you over? Yi Zhaoji's last slap made Tang Tian groan and fly back to the sand dune. Again and again, again and again. Man Yuan shut his mouth and did not speak, his round face was stupefied. He will not die. Man Yuan shook his head. I have studied his blood meridians, his life force is very strong unless… I accidentally said too much nonsense, actually I only wanted to say one thing. The two forces merged into one, his body was like it was fiercely hit, he turned into an untraceable afterimage and flew far away. There must be some reason for you to disregard everything. She did everything she could, and you do not want to be a trash. Bang. So tired. Suddenly, Tang Tian found that his vision was becoming blurry. The blue light burst out, pierced many holes on Yi Zhaoji's body. Yi Zhaoji's last slap, Tang Tian could clearly see that the palm was already badly mutilated. Stop dreaming. You even need her to sacrifice your life. Well, my ass. You shrink your head and hide in a corner. In the end you will only be crushed by someone's finger, then you will die and others will laugh at you. Haha. Do you know, there was an idiot woman who actually wasted her life for such a trash-broken sword? She was so stupid that no medicine could cure her. Others thought she was stupid, of course. They would also think I was stupid. But I feel, shouldn't this world be like this? This kind of thing should be protected. You can't think about everything calmly. Not everything you can measure with gains and losses. The blue light was like a sword, effortlessly pierced through Zhaoji's body, and shot out from his back. The determination of a sword. She hoped that you would be safe and sound. The sensational effect of this battle was far stronger than the last time. Young lady, I really miss you. Crazy, cold, valiant, this kind of guy was really hard to deal with. Zhang Ming, he rubbed his forehead. Yi Zhaogu. It opened its mouth, which was full of scars but was naturally curved like an eternal smile, and spat out a circle of snow-white bubbles. Boom. Man Yuan came to a sudden understanding, and then he nodded and said seriously, I've said it before, this is the result of not studying properly. Out of all of us, he was the only one who disliked going to class the most. He had already broken the Academy's record for failing a subject. Countless facts had proven that blindly fighting valiantly and charging head-on would inevitably result in failure. If practice deviates from theory, it will inevitably. Do you know how much I miss you? Zhang Ming, he was very familiar with him, and with one look, he knew that seventh brother should have found Yi Zhaoji's weakness, and was extremely excited. Among them, sixth brother Yi was the #1 stalker. Everyone had a headache. If not for the fact that the Honorable Martial Alliance was the strongest aristocratic family in Heaven's Road, with Yi Zhaoji's strength, it was enough for him to become a constellation master on any planet, and sit on a piece of land. His body was already on the verge of collapse. Now that his mind was relaxed, fatigue engulfed him like a tide. Saint Bestowal and the weather? Zhang Ming, his bright face was startled by the proposition. Zhang Ming, he thought about all the subjects that he had failed, and broke out in cold sweat. He coughed lightly, Don't be like that, we are all classmates, it's lucky that you didn't die. Zhang Ming, he immediately had a headache, he was thinking of how to pry the information out of the fellow's mouth, but he was not here for that matter. Sixth brother Yi was ambushed in Lupus constellation. The white whale's pitch-black eye sockets suddenly dropped sparkling and translucent tears, transforming into sparkling and translucent crystals, disappearing into the enchanting blue sea of light. He had never seen a person who was so ruthless and crazy towards himself. She did everything she could, and you better not be trash. Did I win? The raging waves of true power behind him suddenly seemed to be attracted, and rushed towards the snow-white bubble. Yi Zhaoji's Heaven's Road ranking was 4444, which was a ranking that symbolized death. To be able to fight his way into the top 5,000 of the Heaven Road list before the age of 25, such a genius, even in the Honorable Martial Alliance, could be counted with one's fingers. Ever since Yi Zhaogu had come out, he had been looked upon favorably by everyone. He was even seen as the most likely genius to step into the Sacred Saint Galaxy amongst the younger generation of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Furthermore, he was from the Yi family, and his father was a middle-ranking elder of the Honorable Martial Alliance, possessing enough resources to make people jealous. The white whale opened his eyes. His eye sockets were empty, only a bottomless darkness. He suddenly shut his mouth. Other than fighting, do you have any other choice? No problem. Zhang Ming, he exposed a cunning look. First tell me my weakness. But seeing Man Yuan's mouth shut, Zhang Ming, he knew that seventh brother Yi did not want to say. Wait a minute, he suddenly looked at Man Yuan suspiciously. Don't tell me you also studied me? Ha! Tangdan, I will come and find you. I will come and find you. Inside the blue sea of light, it used all of its strength to move its body, and used all of its strength to use its tail to strike the sea of light. Yi Zhaogu and the rest were the true sons of heaven, the future rulers of heaven's road. Yi Zhaoji's mission completion rate in the Honorable Martial Alliance was a famous 100%, which also meant that he had never failed before. Seventh brother, what have you been busy with recently? Zhang Ming, he grabbed onto Man Yuan. Damn it, I can't afford to offend a scholar. Inside the empty sword body, a white whale covered in scars silently swam around. Its tail carried a faintly discernible flame, both of its eyes were closed, its thick and wide forehead was filled with countless of scars, and the word, safe and well, was engraved on it. Zhang Ming, his eyes lit up. You found sixth brother Ye's weakness? In the void, the exhausted white whale looked at the direction where the light pillar disappeared. The southern sky's 42 constellations in the eyes of the northern sky people was a rural place. But in the eyes of the polar people, it was a rural place. And in the eyes of Qi Daoist, oh, it must be very far. If not for their age, their strength would not be strong enough, but everyone believed that all of them would have their own positions in the top 100 of the Heaven Road list. And in the eyes of the 12 ecliptic palaces, all right, let us talk about the problem of our great Heaven's Road axis. Go and analyze the images. Man Yuan said excitedly. Man Yuan saw that Zhang Ming, he seemed to be interested and immediately became excited. That's right, there really is a connection. I picked 300 recorded saint cases to analyze and proved one point. The influence of the sky air on the probability of being bestowed as a saint is roughly 3% to 5%. The thin stream converged into the sea, and the slight waves gave rise to angry waves. Blood sprinkled down from the sky, and Yi Zhaoji's insane laughter came out from afar. He definitely had the intention to leave long ago, but never thought that he would not reveal it at all. Even his last slap, Tang Tian thought that he had some ultimate technique. That's right, sixth brother Yi was almost beaten to a pulp. Zhang Ming, he was obviously in a dilemma. He was rejoicing in Yi Zhaoji's failure, but he also felt that being attacked in southern sky was a loss of face for everyone, so he immediately added, he was surrounded and beaten up. I heard that there was a nephew of the Sagittarius Empress. The Empress had already said that only sixth brother Yi was allowed to go. The blue angry wave was compressed into a blue light pillar by the white bubble, tearing through the air. This is my longing, this is my vow to fight for you, did you hear it, did you hear it? He immediately fainted. The blue light regiment that was compressed to its limit suddenly exploded. Yi Zhaoji's eyes opened wide, a flash of disbelief flashing past his eyes. This is... Zhang Ming, he started to have a headache and immediately shouted, Stop, stop. That's right, sixth brother Yi tripped this time, his injuries are not light. The surging power seemed to have come late, and suddenly exploded out. Yi Zhaoji's mouth suddenly revealed a crazy smile, his left palm used all of his strength, and heavily smashed onto the safe and sound sword. Do you have any battle experience? Man Yuan's wooden face, his eyes lit up. Looking at Yi Zhaoji's competitors, there was no need to talk about the Honorable Martial Alliance, Lion King Lei Ang's son, Sagittarius Empress disciple, Onyx Soul's 12 dark children, etc. What Equatorial Palace master's son, all of them looked at the circle and wanted to squeeze in no matter how hard they tried, but could only walk around outside the circle. But this time, they were actually attacked by a nameless junior active in the southern sky constellation, naturally causing everyone to be curious. He suddenly raised his head to the sky and roared, the void surging endlessly. Only by fighting and winning can you prove that you are alive, can you prove that her sacrifice was worth, that her choice was right. Only then can you let everyone know that her sacrifice that year, her conviction that year, was not stupid at all, not idiotic at all. A cold and mocking voice sounded out in Tang Tian's heart, but Tang Tian thought it was his misconception. He raised his head to look at Yi Zhaogu, who had already turned into a small black dot, and could not help but feel admiration. Man Yuan's eyes looked at his nose looked at his heart, and did not move an inch. You are no longer here, only I am safe and sound. Sixth brother Yi? Man Yuan's expression became blank again. So, broken sword, you have to fight not for me, but for yourself, for Meng Wei. At least you have to make her sacrifice not look stupid, not idiotic. Man Yuan's reaction was half a beat slow, and was pulled back by Zhang Minghe. He was stunned for 3 seconds, and then his blank eyes recovered. Oh, Minghe. I am researching on the influence of the weather on the probability of being bestowed as a saint. Idiot. Surging true power surged into the sword blade, countless of blue light dots surging into the void, as though it was glowing seawater. The white whale swayed its huge body, stirring the sky full of light dots. It swam very quickly, and the light dots rolled up like seawater, gathering by its side. Lupus constellation? Southern sky? Man Yuan finally revealed a moved expression. Seems like a powerful person has appeared. The opponent used a star treasure that interferes with energy. Zhang Ming, he revealed a disappointed expression when he saw Man Yuan, and then said proudly, but I still managed to get a recording. For you to live, Meng Wei gave her life to you. Even sacrificing her life for the sake of protecting you, in her heart, you must be very precious. The white figure rolled up a blue raging wave, the ice-cold true power piercing into the bones, but it did not feel anything. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.